What I would do updates to ranked mode, some gunplay adjustments, the return of the black market, and a little boom boom while you zoom zoom. All this and more as we dive into the update 36.1 patch report. First up, ranked mode is getting some major changes for Season 36. Ranks now feature 2 new tiers: Crystal between Platinum and Diamond, and Survivor tier for those who can manage to push themselves beyond Master. Ranked Duo mode is being added, while tiers and RP have been unified across party types and perspectives. Because of this, everyone's RP will be reset this season back down to 1500. And ranked playpoint rewards have been improved. So drop in, rank up, and collect your new rewards. In addition, we're also unifying your Battlegrounds experience between ranked and normal matches. This means you'll see the recall system, Red Zone, BRDM, and items like the zipline gun and C4 in ranked. These are big changes to how ranked works, so be sure to let us know your feedback. Next up, we've got a couple of weapon adjustments coming your way. We've cut down the AUG's aim punch by roughly 50% and slightly reduced its damage, while the VSS and muzzle brake have been buffed. We'll be launching Gunplay Labs DMR Rebalance soon to test the reduced RPM and damage for DMRs. This DMR rebalance aims to strengthen the unique characteristic of DMRs and better differentiate them from SRs. So make sure you drop in and let us know your thoughts. PUBG's annual superstore, the Black Market, is making its return this update. Pick up a new Crafter Pass along with 4 classic progressive weapon skins and 6 chromas. Check out the upcoming Black Market announcement for all the details on how to grab these fan-favorite skins. We've also rebalanced the red zone a bit and added vending machines and destructible pots to Vikendi. And speaking of destruction, players can now toss throwables while driving and use handguns from the driver's seat in Watercraft, just in case you needed to add a little more rage to your road. There's a lot to dive into, so be sure to check out the patch notes for full details on everything. Update 36.1 is here, so stop by the Black Market, brush up on your ranked skills, and toss more out your window than dirty looks. We'll see you on the Battlegrounds.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the PUBG Players Cup. It is a Thursday night, not a Saturday, not a Sunday. I'm going to get that out of there earlier before we make that mistake as many times as we did tonight, last night, getting everything mixed up with our dates. But Chunks, It's day 2. We're going to send 8 teams through to the Masters by the end of tonight. And I'm going to say it, things are a little bit tighter this time around with a new point system than they were in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, those teams that are able to chain together wins, not like we've had any yet, aren't going to have that huge boost that they've had previously. But we have to bear in mind the fact that typically when you're getting consistent wins, you're getting a lot of kills to go with it. And that's definitely how things are weighting right now. So it's going to be really exciting to look forward to. Obviously, mayhem yesterday, as if the Players Tour hasn't been crazy enough. Yesterday we saw 2 BRDMs in the end game. We've seen a C4 crash. We've seen a player get killed by a ferry. So I'm excited to see what else is going to happen this evening.
You're going to kick me off again thinking about that guy getting ran over by the ferry in the last game of the night. But BRDM chaos, we only thought we had it in NA last night. I saw what happened in EMEA earlier with Pixel, and it was just cruel. But we are in the middle of another little Player Cup sprint. This is week 1. We are just about to finish the first set of qualifiers to the next Masters with $20,000 up for grabs. Next week's scrims begin on, I'm not sure it's next week. I think it might be 2 weeks' time because of the EWC qualifiers. But if you want to register for them, !register in chat. You have a chance to qualify. All you have to do is play in a few of the best of 3 scrims that'll be happening on consecutive nights. And Chunks, after all, you don't need to play every single set of scrims. You just need to play enough to get enough points to qualify.
Yeah, and if you play all of them, then you're going to make it a whole lot easier on yourself. This evening, though, we have got 4 maps that are going to be played. Remember, it's a shorter format event over here in the Players Cup. Starting off with Miramar, ending over on Erangel. So we're keeping things snappy as always. And remember, you have to be in the top 8 to be able to qualify for that Masters automatically. We still have another Players Cup next week where more teams will have the opportunity to qualify. But right now, it is close around that 8th place spot.
Yeah, that 8th place spot is 15 points with Animaniacs. Not too far behind, and I'm not going to lie. I seen some things from Animaniacs yesterday that got me a little excited. T-Plants in particular had some nice moments across games, but it is time to address the elephant in the room. We are on a new point system. 5 points for a chicken dinner as opposed to 10. 3 points for second, 2 points for third, 1 point for fourth. Nobody outside of those spots get a point on the board. So what that's done is put the emphasis on to kill points, Chunks. And we've seen some teams really emphasize on that. And 55 in particular were really impressive yesterday. I'd argue, Chunks, that whether it was this, they were under the 55 banner or whether they were under the Typhon banner before, it's probably the best I've seen those 4 players play in a long time.
I would agree, but there are a couple of games that really stand out to me. I think it was on the Rondo maps really early on in the tournament. They got an insane win out of it. That really stands out to me. They're a team that can really have strong performances. I think that they're definitely playing hyper-aggressive. We saw that hot drop yesterday between Animaniacs and LG, and it was almost immediate. You saw 55 come in third party. That's why we see Sam Crow at the top of the kill leaderboard, even though Kawazine is stealing the show in terms of damage and KDA.
Again, almost 2,000 damage, the highest KD. This kid is legit, and I genuinely cannot wait till later on this year to see him compete in the FPP circuit because he's just been insane. And I think the big thing is, even though Mira aren't in top of the leaderboard as things stand at the minute, they have been probably the most consistent and best team in the TPP circuit that we have seen. But there is the caveat that the lobby this week, tonight and yesterday, is significantly better than what we've seen in the past because Falcons are back in play. All the teams that were away internationally, except for Furia, are in this lobby, and this is not an easy lobby to compete in.
No, it isn't. But again, neither were the lobbies in the previous weeks where Mira were able to dominate. Granted, they're not going to have an easy ride when it comes to taking those early game fights. And that's something that they've really emphasized on in the past couple of weeks when our regional partner teams haven't been here. They've been taking early game engagements, and we haven't seen so much of that out of them. It looked like they were going to actually take a bit of a hot drop down on the south there, but the team around them is going to be moving away instead. And yeah, it's a fairly eastern playing path, so a lot of those drops that teams prefer to take are going to be cut out. Undoubtedly, though, we're going to be having another Power Grid hot drop because LG and Animaniacs, formerly 55 Esports, have just been taking that since they started.
Yeah, and it is important to keep an eye on that gunfight because that will continue every single night. But the benefit of it is, I suppose, you do have the ability to buy back your teammates now. So if you hot drop and you lose 1 or 2 players, you can capitalize. But Chunks, look at Sam Crow. Just a little bit off to the side of Power Grid over towards the east. His job is to be a scout. If he can pick up a kill onto the loser or the winners of this fight, he's going to do it. So Sam Crow is a scout, but Chunks, without further ado, let's jump into the action.
Yep, Animaniacs, they're the first ones to take some shots. None of them have landed yet. Never mind. Gats takes down one, follows it up with the second. FCZ trades it out, so Animaniacs now left with 2 players up. LG scrambling a little bit to try and get Bizzler some weapons. He doesn't have anything in hand right now. FCZ closing in. Looks like he wants to try and get the revive, but needs to be careful as Voxic. He's going to be holding those crates a little bit further down to the south. Snakers, by the way, is all the way out in the hillsides. He does have himself an Uzi, by the sound of things, as Voxic lands a couple of shots, gets ready to follow up with the nade. Should be able to confirm this flush, but he might be waiting to throw that nade until he has a better read on where FCZ is.
Yeah, this nade could be huge if he's able to land it perfectly, but 12 and FCZ are the last 2 players standing. The Snakers does now close the gap, but FCZ will shut him down. Caught out in the open, and now Advantage swings it back towards Animaniacs with Bizzler. A little too far away. Some damage has been dealt, Chunks, but Sam Crow, I called it. I said he was going to be off in the distance. He is able to pick up that knock, but FCZ will steal it away. But Sam Crow, no helmet, no vest, realizing he's not going to get any more. He's going to get out of dodge. But Chunks, what next for Bizzler?
It's a good question. I don't think he's going to try and pick up those tokens. I think it's just a case of try and get away from this and survive for a little bit longer. Now, Snakers is still going to be bleeding out, but as Bizzler gets spotted, Animaniacs, they're just making sure he can't use that vehicle, maybe thinking he is using it for cover, but instead he's rapping, so he might actually decide to engage onto this fight instead. 12 is looking around. They need to be careful because Sam Crow is still in the area, and if you look over at the map stream, exclamation point map, you will see that Liquid, they're also moving in.
Yeah, but look at the rest of 55. They're also around. So Sam's to the south, Tony's to the north. They want to close in on this because they know how important kills are. As you said, Sparking getting involved now too. He hears the noise. This is a 3/4 team fight up on off the start of a drop, as all these teams hunt those valuable kill points. Chunks and Sparking, you don't want to give him a second invite. He'll get a knock like that in the blink of an eye. And with that, let's see how Tony adapts. Let's see if 55 decide they want to fall off the back of this one as Alo confirms out the kill. And yeah, Chunks, look at this. Tony, he's moved. He's realized it's a little too hot in the kitchen and he's all by himself. So he'll rotate a little further away and just keep an eye on what's going on.
I'm a little surprised that Bizzler's still in the compound. I maybe would have expected him to continue rotating away from this, but he is going to commit to it. And I think maybe 55 and now Liquid third partying onto this is potentially going to help Bizzler out here if Animaniacs do get distracted. They managed to take down Karax from 55 Esports, so they're going to be a bit more weakened now. It almost looks like Psycho wants to come up for the revive, but Karax going to hear this bike, and Psycho is going to try and get in position to land the shots onto Sparking. It looks like it might be a little too late, though.
Yeah, Sandstorm comes in just a little bit too late for Karax, for Psycho to consider going for that res, but I like Bizzler doing this, right? So you asked if Bizzler was going to go for the tags or whether he was going to get out of there. I think this answers the question, as Team Mira will get the kill onto Josh as he will fall, their first kill of the night, and now they turn their attention to rush to win, as Lataro will get knocked here as well. And oh my god, that is a mile away from Kawazine as he manages to land at that knock. And well, Boy Wonder is going to pick up another kill as Psycho and picture Chunks is coming under some pressure here as well.
Slides down the rock. He's going to try and move away, but it looks like Liquid want to try and surround this soon. Team Mirror, they've committed over to this one. I think that they maybe assume that CF are the only squad in the area, so they do need to be a little bit careful. Still another squad up ahead. Sparking, he's prepping the nades. It doesn't look like it's going to land. Maybe thinks that the player is a lot closer than he actually is. Instead, though, Psycho, he's far down the hillside. That nade could be close. It's just a little bit far to the left and a little bit short as well. Sparking, anchoring up top, trying to get the info for his team as the rest of the squad roll around. They might not have taken Tony into account as he starts to sneak between the rocks to the north.
Yeah, Psycho's just trying to stay hidden for now as Kurt will drive on by and Tony gets the knock onto Sparking and Kurt's going to hop on out, but is Alo going to find himself being knocked? 2 taps from Tony, does a little bit of damage with the M4, however, no kill be found, but Chunks, Kurt is out in the open with Psycho trying to lock him down, and honestly, I feel like this battle does work a little bit better for Psycho with the angle he has. And back inside a power grid, Bizzler. His position is revealed. And now here come Animaniacs looking to flush out LG.
He's got the close range setup, though. The UMP and the shotgun. But it's a bold move from Bizzler to actually take those shots and give his position away. Not sure whether he maybe thought there was only one Animaniacs player left, as he does prep the underhand nade. It seems to be pretty close. Actually takes down Mixtall as T-Plents and 12 both going to be inside of here. Bizzler is going to be getting spotted out as he preps the flashbang, decides not to throw it. Not sure what his util's looking like. Now 12, he's got a BZ nade in his back pocket. Sorry, that's a smoke. Never mind. I was going to say that could be used to force him into a tricky position. As we swap back over to the fight on the other side of Power Grid, 55 and Liquid both getting involved, and Bestia, they've moved in and are now getting lit up by Tony.
Yeah, why not? Everybody loves a good party here on Miramar, as the early game has seen 13 players removed already, as Tony's been dealt with. Bizzler deals a little bit of damage, but that was the only opportunity he was going to get, as T-Plants continues to build off a good day yesterday and gets that kill, which should now put them in the top 8 as things stand. Rush to win, Chunks. They're getting pushed by Team Mira. Fana has been knocked, but as you can see, the terrain is inside of Team Mira's favour. The only thing I would argue is if Al Qudsiya come further down that road, or even Renee come pushing down the road, Mira are very exposed. They're actually incredibly exposed out in the open.
Psycho tried to land a couple of shots. Not going to take them in the end, as he's going to be pressured by Bestia. Liquid, well, they've decided, look, we've got two kill points out of this, so we're going to make a move away back into Picardo. I can't imagine this is where they end up stopping for the rest of the game. And Rush to win, they're not in any rush to take this fight. They've been significantly weakened now by Team Mira. Safana just going to sweep around. He's identified that probably both the players are left inside of here. Not sure what his util usage is going to be like. He's only really got flashbangs to take this one aggressively. He throws out a couple, almost like he wants to bait the shots. Is he going to be playing as a solo for Team Mirror right here? It's going to be difficult, but I guess if you push as a duo or a squad in this, where the Panzer is waiting for you, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, the Panzer should get the first knock in the engagement. That'll bring it into essentially a 2 versus 2, while the rest of the players push. But here comes the vice grip. So LFP, Kawazine pushed from one side, and oh no, he panzers his own pants as he falls down, and Rush to win are dealt with. Team Mira with 5 kills already in the early stages of this game. Kawazine got 2. He was the sacrificial lamb for his side. But with that, Team Mira now secure south of the circle for themselves as we jump back towards the north, Chunks, where Team Liquid now, they're rotating in towards Rock, where Souls is just, he's being a conduit of information. He's not going to fire until the last car goes past, and he just waited a little bit too late. Well, I don't think Liquid are going to be interested in this push. They're going to carry on with their rotation.
No, I think they want to focus on getting a good position right now. Look, I got to go back to that Mirror push for a second. That was perfect. I have never seen a more perfect push onto one of those buildings. They isolated both players in the long building. Ooh. They sent players through every doorway, and it's going to pay dividends now with that circle shifting down to the south. Al Qudsiya, they're probably going to try and play the cliffs up to the north of Team Mirror, so not going to be too much of a threat for them, but they should be aware after hearing that fight finish up, so they'll be looking down to the south. Still need to be careful of Renee, and now Toyo all moving into the same position.
Yeah, everybody's moving into play. A lot of teams will basically decide that Partona in the south of Drumstick Island is not as part of the circle. So everybody is going to rush now to the compounds in the high ground that will give them control over the rest of the circle. Tiggleton taking his Lamborghini. Wouldn't be surprised if he owned one IRL as well, up on top of the hills here, as he's found quite a bit of success, both personally and professionally, inside the world of PUBG. Chunks, sorry, it's the McLaren. Did I say? Yeah, it is a Lambo. Why did I say? Yeah. Can I have it? It'd be nice.
I will say, it's probably not the most appropriate vehicle for Miramar. These ridges, you could see the suspension bottoming out, but he's making it work. He is rolling around in style as Falcons. They're going to grab this compound. It doesn't look like they're too happy with it, so potentially going to do a bit of a 2-2 split here. Kickstart. I think he actually stopped to loot a crate, which is why he's a bit further away, but there's no one around him, so it could work out for him if he gets some decent loot. Bestia, Animaniacs, two teams that narrowly avoided themselves around Power Grid, now passing in the wind again, as Bestia just going for a bit of a wide rotate down to the west.
Yeah. You know what I will say about Falcons? It's not fair, because they're all incredibly talented at the game, they're all incredibly handsome, and they're all living their best lives. Like, they've got all the gifts. It's not fair. That's all I'm going to say about Falcons. We love them, though. They're great as Kerak. Will be the we'll wait to the very end of the flight path to drop down. He's going to bring back his teammates at this res station. And look at that for timing. Not only is he going to go get his teammates, he's going to get picked up as well inside the sky. So it's not bad.
Picks up in Picado as well. You know, there's going to be loot left over. Regardless of which team loots it, you're not going to be able to carry it all, especially here with the esports settings. You've got much higher loot, so he will be kitted. Granted, maybe not as much as he would like to be, considering the amount of time he has to actually rotate in, but he's going to be able to get plenty of loot out of this one. Alcudia, they're making the most out of the high ground, firing some shots all around, but they don't have the best lines of sight to the teams nearby, so they haven't been able to connect with anything. Liquid, though, looks like they've got a read over onto that team just down to their south, as I think it's going to be a bit of a waiting game. Surely one of these hill teams is going to try and take the engagement onto the compound down to the south of them, and it looks like Liquid going to be the first to do so.
Yeah, I love it. And Liquid, this could be a big fight, but Jibs knows there's a nade at the ready, and shots are going to get fired from Luke 12, as that'll slow down the push. Jibs finds 36 damage, and that first nade will be thrown, followed up by a stun, but Flamescur will take a ton of damage. Kurt will get traded back by Hansi, though, as Hansi will dip back into cover. Sparking now will keep the pressure on, and eventually will go for the res, and maybe Dream 1 will use that opportunity to push further. Sparking with another underhand nade as Hansi peeks up over the ridgeline as well. He's going to get knocked now too as Liquid taking advantage of this fight. Chunks and now Jibs is going to step up, and look at those shots from Jibs. He takes down Halo, and now you've got Team Mira getting involved.
And Mira, they're going to see that Liquid are now weakened, so you'd imagine they want to commit onto this further, but no, they've only got 2 players. They're actually going to back away, keep hold of this compound, realizing that now it's going to be a powerful position. They probably had a read that Toyo are up to their northeast, so they're going to focus on moving back and preparing to defend. I think the rest of the squad probably going to try and group up. They're still at the previous compound where we saw them execute a perfect push on the long building, so they're now moving in, holding this as a 4-man, potentially even going to keep players up the hill, but Animaniacs, they're not going to keep FCZ in the game as he gets ran over and flushed by Vinny.
Yeah, quickly dealt with now as Animaniacs lose another. H1 out in the open will try to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge his way around these shots from Cowboy, who just cannot wrangle in H1 at the first time of asking, but he'll try to get some more bullets on a rope and maybe catch H1, because you know where he is at this point. There's only so few places he can pop on up, and H1 does sprint up, gets around the corner, and Chunks, you saw what happened there. Cowboy got a little bit distracted by Renee pushing off in the distance, and that gave H1 the chance to rotate into the circle.
Yeah, I mean, really impressive there from Falcons to be able to make that move, but H1 now out on his own. He has got a vehicle to work with. That sandstorm could provide him a little bit of cover as Cowboy is looking out over the ridge line. He's going to struggle to actually find that vehicle and take the shots. Might just about spot it. Surely isn't able to connect. No, the sandstorm just breaking the line of sight too much. Roth is a little bit closer, so could make something happen. But we'll hop on board with Renee as they're now trying to deal with Falcons. It's Kickstart who opens things up. The rest of Renee now moving in. Sticky, P, and Bever both getting absolutely lit up, but it's actually going to be Chino that's the first player to put forward. Tiggleton gets the knock, followed up by one from Shrimpsy as Renee in a little bit of trouble. Caught out in the open. That is not where you want to stop the vehicle as Falcons stop that rotate with force.
Another couple of kills on the board for Himsy as he continues to do what he's been doing for oh so long. Now we've got D, put a little bit of pressure on the H1 earlier, but this time he's got his attention drawn further south to the rest of Falcons, who have got themselves a very good position in the circle, because where they're playing They're not going to get pushed from the east. They're not going to get pushed from the south. So all they've got to do is focus their eyes forward towards the center of the circle, which is exactly what a team like them want to do. On the other side of things, though, Chunks, Toyo in a good position in the compound we see held oh so often. That position they have has a revive station there, which means that if they get a take a knock and if someone gets flushed, they can instantly bring their teammate back.
Just as Rock, they are instantly knocking players as soon as they see them right now. Circle shifts up to the north. I don't think there's anything too surprising out of that, but I am a little bit surprised that Solds is out on his own. Now with 55 Esports rotating around him, he could be in a little bit of trouble because the rest of Rock are focused down to the south. He's focused fully over on towards Karak, though, as he gets himself the knock, follows it up with a flush. Bit of util is going to land extremely close, but he moves back off of it. Shouldn't be under too much pressure. I'm not sure how Rock want to approach this, whether they want to send more players up to support, but I think he realizes that there aren't too many players from 55 to worry about right here.
Yeah, Souls is just going to pop that Murado and move a little bit more into cover, but Sam Crow, he's just keeping an eye on, but with BL pushing around the other side, I think Sam Crow's best decision here would be to fall back and join Psycho. Now, Souls, he's got to pre-prep the nade. He tosses it into the distance and fires off the shots, but the nade doesn't hit its mark. And Sam Crow will just about get out of dodge for now, but this fight is not done just yet. It probably will happen again in a little while if 55 can find themselves a spot. And, Chunks, I'm looking at it. I'm thinking the shack. I'm thinking all they see is the shack, and that's probably where they're going to park up now for the rest of this one. And looking at the terrain surrounding it, it's actually a pretty decent one to play in, provided the circle keeps kicking their way.
I think it depends. If this circle kind of pulls slightly down to the south and Toyo are able to get up to this ridge just to kind of behind where Samcro is now, then they could be in a lot of trouble in this position because they could just get completely lit up by frag grenades, BZ nades, force them out of the shack. It could be very difficult for them. But as long as Toyo stay in that compound, they should be okay. The same could be said for Rock here as they're up to the northwest. If they group up and the circle moves towards 55, they could also be trying to engage onto this. So that's going to be an area that we're probably not going to see anything immediately out of. But as we get later into the game, I'm sure something's going to pop off, just as Mime, he's trying to pop off, but it's actually D who pops him in the head, takes him down to 5 HP. Now going to be forced to heal, and Bestia scrambling a little bit to decide which fight they have to take.
And Bestia, remember, are a team that need to find more kills in the new system, because they're a team that usually play for position and get a couple of kills in the end game, but position just isn't going to cut it anymore. Mime gets the knock on to Mixtall. He's going to be picked up. There's no way the T-Plants is able to find that res, and it's Cowboy who steals it away. And now T-Plants under pressure from DraftKing Chunks, but he will get inside the shack. And now what is DraftKing's arm like? This will have to be a mother of all needs to get the shot, and it's not going to land at the first time of asking. But I don't think it's in Bestia's best interests to focus all their attention on T-Plants, because they've got other fish to fry, one of them being Liquid on the other side, where a knock has been sustained.
But now they've been put in a position where they can be the ones to gatekeep Liquid. Obviously, Rock going to move in. They're not going to be aware of this just yet. So Bestia do have to be a little bit cautious about this. Mime is still holding the position. He throws out some smokes, trying to break the line of sight to allow Bestia to exit from this fight and disengage. But 55 Esports, we thought the shack was going to be a passive position, and they're starting to engage over onto Alcurtia Roth. It looked like he spun out for a second, but he will be able to get to the shack safely, not without Solds calling this out. He's been playing solo for the majority of the game here for Rock Esports, as the rest of the squad have been further away. Now BL is going to be there to support Solds, should be able to get the knock and quickly follow it up with the flush as Tiggleton starts to make some noise, taking down T-Plants, and it's Lowly who finishes off Animaniacs.
Yeah, the circle shifting up this way as well, so this battle for the north can continue a little while longer. Roth is still up and not too far away. He's near the center of the circle, but his teammates are very far away from this position, as Sparking and Mime will both fall in sync. Alo now, the last player standing for Team Liquid. At this point, it is about picking up whatever points he can for his side. He's solo. He's pushing in from the very busy side of the circle with Rock, Bestia, and Falcons moving in. And Santa, with the MG3 in his hands, might just be about to unleash unholy hellfire onto those two Bestia players.
Santa just waiting. Not wanting to expose himself right now, especially with Vinny down in that shack. If he tries to peek over, take down those two Bestia players, he's going to be in trouble. And, yep, for anyone who wasn't paying attention yesterday, C4s are added to the game. And Trimsy is going to try and make something happen out of it. Pops it over onto the vehicle as H-Win launches out a Panzer. That C4, it's going to be close. Vinny, surely he knows what's coming for him, and it's the second kamikaze in the space of 2 days. Nicely done from Falcons to send it in, even at the expense of a player. DraftKings now getting absolutely lit up by Santala. Only going to be Enzito left up now for Bestia, and his days are surely numbered. 2 players from Falcons moving up the hillside, and Rock up above. It is going to be Kickstart getting third party by Alo as he looks to find the second, has a read on where Tig is, decides to switch over to the frag, but he's just getting peppered from up the hill, and that's the end of Team Liquid out in 8th. Remember, that would typically mean placement points, but we still got 3 teams that need to fall to make it into placement.
At least on the bright side, whenever Gunnar has to knock on Kat's door to tell her what happened per Shrimsy, it'll be an entertaining story at least, as he took a full team down with him with the C4 planted on the Murado. Look, it's the second time we've seen it. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's TPP, but we will continue to go on. Tig up and still alive as Santa will clear this building for his side. Pushing in now, phase 6 blue will hurt quite a bit for Tig as he makes his way inside the circle. But Chunks, you look at Mira, right? They're making a big push. They're trying to get back up to the top of the leaderboard. They finished last night strong. They're going to bring Fana back inside, get the res off. They'll have all 4 players. And if the dominoes go their way with 4 players up, them and Toyo and I'd say Rock are in a very good position to go for the win.
I think Mirror are the team to watch for me right now. Obviously, they have been throughout the Players Tour, but specifically in this position, they should be able to work up the hillside pretty decently and potentially hold out those 2 solos. Alcudzia, they're very split. Roth is all the way out on his own. I'm actually a little bit surprised he didn't get flushed out when he got knocked at that shack earlier, but he's going to be playing kind of an entry position here for Alcudzia in case this zone shifts up to the north, but that is going to put him under major threat now from Rock as Tiggleton, he preps the nade, knows Enzito's going to be about. That one should be close. It bounces up and doesn't connect, but Enzito certainly does. Beautiful headshots to take down Tig, and that's Falcons falling in 7th place.
Yeah, big kill from Enzito. Falcons are now down and out, so there's 6 teams left alive, and we are still not in the placement points. 2 more teams need to fall, as I don't really think that mattered, the blue chips being cancelled, because there was only 1 res station that was locked down. But now Roth is going to get a lot of pressure thrown his way. Rock, they've realised that Roth is still here. The question at this point is what damage can he do, because the rest of Alcudzia are coming nowhere near here. That nade looks like it could be pretty good as Roth manages to actually dip out of that one. He doesn't take any damage, but you send Santa in. He's got the MG3. That thing shreds through players, and Roth almost got over the ridge line, but Souls catches him out, and Alcudzia, they're down to a 2.
Just peeking over the top of the smoke, calls it out to his team. Now Rock have a very strong position to work out of. This is the spot that I mentioned earlier that could cause a major threat to 55 Esports in this shack. I mean, there's another position as well that Mirror are going to try and take as they start to flex out of their compound. Speaking of compound moves, Toyo, they're going to try and move up the hill. Adri is still down in the building, maybe potentially going to be on that roof looking to provide some fire support for his teammates that are making the push up the hill. This Team Mirror just holding onto this ridge while the zone is on their back. I maybe thought they were in a stronger position than they were, because they're going to have to run down this hillside more likely than not.
Yeah, and the hillside is a potential death sentence. I would say their best bet is to make a full send for where you see Alcudzia playing. Those shacks in the field. Well, never mind. The circle shift, you got to go towards Rock. You've got to go up that other side of the circle and try to play that ridgeline, that dirt road, where you see 55 and Rock on either side of. Toyo also need to extend out now with 2 players in the circle. The other 2 will now need to leave. But Chunks, I'm looking at Alcudzia. Where do they go from this position? They're in the blue. They don't have a vehicle. They need to put down one hell of a smoke wall to get into this circle.
I think back to the lobby is the most likely outcome here, unfortunately, for Alcudia. They have some very strong teams all looking in their direction. What I will say is that Toyo, they are focused on Rock right now. If they kick this engagement off, that could be Alcudia's opportunity to start making a move. Sure, Mirror are close in behind, but they're going to have to move into the zone a long time before Alcudia do. And yeah, sure, it might be really open, but in terms of players from Toyo that are looking in Alcudia's direction, Adri is the real threat right now. Capitan EMEA could potentially be something to forget about for the time being. So they just need to focus on getting a smoke wall down as that zone is on their back, not moving too early, because if they're the first to move, everyone is going to look in their direction. And it looks like it's going to be Mirror the first to move. They've got a Panzer hanging out the side of the vehicle. I've got a feeling I know how this is going to go. It doesn't actually get used. It's the AUG that they swap over to. There's Capitan the first to open things up onto the rock fight. BL trades it out, but Samcro, he actually gets a knock onto Kawazine. And look at this from 55 Esports, throwing down the C4. Fakes him, finishes off the job, but that beep is going. Mirror need to start making a move, and Alcudia, they've used this as their perfect opportunity to work up the hill. If this C4 goes, they'll probably get a read that Mirror have been forced into the dip right now, as Samcro with the martyrdom takes down Fanna with the C4. More nades landing through, and Alcudia, they're going to attempt to punish.
Yeah, Samcro with the dead man's hand there, put down the C4 and managed to get an extra point for 55 from beyond the grave. But here come Rock. Mira are about to be the filling in a Kudsia and Rock sandwich. And nobody wants to be you could even argue, Chunks, that they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Get it? But as Rock Esports start pushing up over that ridge line, Santa with the MG3 shows that you can solve some problems with a hammer as he manages to get that knock onto Kawazine. Souls is down as well. And at this point, Mira with one player left standing. It is Fixin', but things went pretty bad pretty quickly for Team Mira, and what an adaptation in the moment that was from Alcudia to use those knocks, to use that push as their opportunity to make it inside the circle.
Fakes in, he throws the nade up the hill rather than down below, but I think he's going to hear those footsteps. D actually decides to throw a gas can out, potentially going to try and shoot it, set a bit of a fire going, but it's Fakes in who lands the nade first, takes down D, only going to be Cowboy left up. Flashbang comes out. This is probably going to be his cue to push, but he needs to be very careful from behind, as Cowboy should be getting caught sticking the res. He will be able to take down Fakes in, but he loses his teammate in the process. Rock now looking really dominant in this position, but we can't forget about Toyo. They've used this opportunity to spread out. They have the whole of the center of the zone. They are fanned out beautifully, and if Cowboy manages to take down one or two of these Rock players, you've got to assume that Toyo take the game.
Did you see what happened there, by the way? D body blocked for Cowboy. The reason Cowboy won that fight is because D was there, downed and body blocked every single shot, and Cowboy won the fight. Placement points now 2 for Alcudia at the minimum. Same for Toyo, same for Rock. Cowboy can still win this game. It's not outside the realm of possibility, particularly if Toyo and Rock lock horns first. Now, Rock, Chunks, yeah, never mind. That's not what's going to happen. Capitan finds the kill. That's 5 now from Toyo, but Rock dominant this game so far. They've got the high ground, but Toyo have the center of the circle.
Toyo really need an opening knock here because Capitan is not in a good position to support. If Solds or RBN gets taken out by Adria or EMEA, then he gets the opportunity to start working up this hillside and really applying pressure onto Rock. He has got 3 frag grenades and a Molotov. In terms of his current position, I don't think he's quite close enough to be able to use them effectively. But again, if Toyo can get that opening knock onto one of those 2 players that is holding him out right now, they are looking really strong to potentially take this. As Capitan, he's moved in a little bit closer, does prep the frag, but there's going to be vehicles heading his way. Nade is perfectly cooked, takes down Solds and BL, and it's only going to be RBN left standing. Capitan quickly moves up the hillside, but RBN, he's going to deny to the zone, and it's Toyo that take the win in game number 1.
Oh, Capitan, my Capitan, what a play. He comes in clutch with a perfect nade, and just like that, Rock's chances of a win were evaporated into nothing. 12 points for Toyo, but what a play that was from Capitan. And here's the thing. I think Rock made the right decision. You knew the Toyo were in a 2-1. You knew the Capitan was the solo, and you knew where he was. So what you would do is say, hey, we're going to push the solo, we're going to wipe him out, and then it's a 3 versus 2, and we can win from there. But everybody has a plan, Chunks, until they get punched in the mouth. And what a punch that nade was from Capitan.
It was really smart as well. You can tell that he was going to try and actually throw it up the hillside originally, try and land it into that little bowl that Rock were holding, realizing they were pressured by the zones, they be in a limited amount of space. As soon as he saw a glimpse of that vehicle, he prepped it. He knew exactly where they were going to go. They crashed up into the tree as a kind of a makeshift handbrake and used it to great effect. Just as we saw the C4 yet again used to great effect twice in this game, once as a full send and then the second time as a bit of an afterlife kill. Beautifully done. After Fakeson was able to get the kill, he was taken out in return.
I love it. Sam Crow was like, if I'm going down, you guys are going down with me. And the explosion was just in the perfect radius to catch one. And I love seeing, like, right, do I think the C4 should be in esports? I don't. But as a caster, will I enjoy creative plays with it? Of course I will. So are the viewers at home. You have, as a player, you have to play with the hand that you're dealt with. And the players are going to use it while it's inside the game. But that nade was phenomenal. And Chunks, even though they only got second place on the map, Rock still get top spot when it comes to overall points. And that will extend their lead even further at the top of the leaderboard. And I'm going to say it, we're going to see them in the Masters. There's no chance in hell they don't qualify from this point.
Yeah, they haven't got a huge margin, don't get me wrong, but when you take a look down between 1st and 8th place, they should be safe, providing that the rest of the lobby don't absolutely pop off this evening. So who knows, we could see a couple of 0-point games from Rock, but I think it's very unlikely. We'll take a look over at the overall standings, though, see how things are stacking up right now, and yeah, it's not really any surprise that we see Rock out in 1st place. They are so dominant, 43 kills so far in the 5 matches that we played, but Team Mirror, they are still putting up good numbers, even though they haven't really been winning as many as we have seen them over the past few weeks. And again, I think that's just down to a lot more of our partner teams now being in the lobby.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the way that the new point system works with 5 for win as a I think Mark described it earlier today, a half-price chicken. The half-price chicken dinner points. I'd say with that being the case, you could argue that the top 5 are all have a very high likelihood of qualifying from this point and making it inside the top 8. Toyo with a good shot as well. But then you have a big drop down to Alcodsia, Animaniacs, Bestia, etc. And with there only being 5 points for a chicken dinner, it makes that gap even harder to close. But I'm going to say it. Bestia, who played in an international lobby just a few weeks ago, and Luminosity, who have been excellent inside of this scene, they're on the wrong side of the table. They have a lot of ground to catch up if they want to get into that top 8.
Yeah, a lot of changes need to be made. It's about taking fights now. With this new point system, you have to get aggressive. You have to be getting those kills. The placement is kind of a bonus if you're able to get a lot of kills in the game, but we'll have to see. We've still got 3 more games remaining to see which 8 teams make it through to the Masters. We're going to be back in just a couple of minutes.
Updates to ranked mode, some gunplay adjustments, the return of the black market, and a little boom boom while you zoom zoom. All this and more as we dive into the update 36.1 patch report. First up, ranked mode is getting some major changes for Season 36. Ranks now feature 2 new tiers, Crystal between Platinum and Diamond, and Survivor tier for those who can manage to push themselves beyond Master. Ranked Duo mode is being added, while tiers and RP have been unified across party types and perspectives. Because of this, everyone's RP will be reset this season back down to 1500. And ranked playpoint rewards have been improved. So drop in, rank up, and collect your new rewards. In addition, we're also unifying your Battlegrounds experience between ranked and normal matches. This means you'll see the recall system, Red Zone, BRDM, and items like the Zipline gun and C4 in ranked. These are big changes to how ranked works, so be sure to let us know your feedback. Next up, we've got a couple of weapon adjustments coming your way. We've cut down the AUG's aim punch by roughly 50% and slightly reduced its damage. while the VSS and muzzle brake have been buffed. We'll be launching Gunplay Labs DMR Rebalance soon to test the reduced RPM and damage for DMRs. This DMR rebalance aims to strengthen the unique characteristic of DMRs and better differentiate them from SRs. So make sure you drop in and let us know your thoughts. PUBG's annual superstore, the Black Market, is making its return this update. Pick up a new Crafter Pass along with 4 classic progressive weapon skins and 6 chromas. Check out the upcoming Black Market announcement for all the details on how to grab these fan-favorite skins. We've also rebalanced the red zone a bit and added vending machines and destructible pops to Vikendi. And speaking of destruction, players can now toss throwables while driving and use handguns from the driver's seat in Watercraft, just in case you needed to add a little more rage to your road. There's a lot to dive into, so be sure to check out the patch notes for full details on everything. Update 36.1 is here, so stop by the Black Market, brush up on your ranked skills, and toss more out your window than dirty looks. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Toyo took the first game of the night, but there's still 3 more to go to find out who will be qualifying in the first wave of teams to the upcoming $20,000 Masters tournament. Chunks, we've said a couple of these teams already have their bags packed and they're ready to take part, but there's still a ton to play for because you want to get in at the first time of asking. You don't want to be forced to play in the second set of these of the Players Cup to try get into the Masters, because 20,000 is no little it's quite a chunk of change.
Yeah, it certainly is. And remember, anyone watching at home is also able to take part. Do exclamation point register in the chat. You could potentially be playing for a chunk of that $20,000, playing against some of the best teams, not only in the region, but in the world. Just remember, you have to be over 16 years of age to register, so get yourself a team together and get signed up, because there's plenty of PUBG to come. And sure, you might not make it into the next Players Cup, but who knows into the ones after that.
Yeah, there's plenty more Cups, Super Cups, and Masters events to happen throughout the course. There's 3 Masters left to go, including the upcoming one with a ton of prize money. So remember, this is open to anybody to qualify. There's no cost of entry. All you got to do is type !register, sign your team up. 16 years of age is the age you need to be at least to be eligible to enter, and then just play in the scrims. You never know what could happen. At the end of the day, Chunks, we are seeing a lot of new teams and a lot of new players stepping up, making names for themselves, getting better week by week. And we have a couple of teams missing tonight too. Like, we've not got Empire because Michael forgot to sign them up. We're blaming Michael because Punage said it's his fault. You know, we got teams like, you got like who are we missing that I would say have been pretty consistent inside the PUBG Players Cup so far? I'd say like Team KZito aren't here. You've got who else? Who else are we missing? Who do you
I think that you've hit the big two right there. In terms of teams that have really been able to put up really strong performances, I think Empire and Team Casito are two big names that are missing out. I'm sure we'll see them back next week. But I think the positive of having a lot of those teams that we've seen consistently qualify and not make it is we're getting to see a whole fresh set of faces tonight. There's a lot of teams that we don't recognise, that we haven't seen before. A lot of new players coming in as well. And in some cases, new rosters where we have some players that we recognise, but not necessarily the full squad that we're used to seeing them play with.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the new teams coming in as well. Some of them have had moments, as we have a friendly to the horn there as Renee will pull their way inside. Will Griggs, who's on fire, by the way. Not really, just figuratively speaking, not literally speaking, as he gets inside. Remember that? Remember that whole year of everybody chanting Will Griggs on fire? Your defense is terrified. Do you think anybody and anybody watching who's from North America even remembers that or even has a clue what we're talking about?
Probably not, but I think, I have that experience a lot with you, Gibson, so I'm sure chat will at least feel like there's someone joining them in being completely unaware of the joke. Typically, it's when I'm the butt of it, though, which I'm not too happy about.
Yeah. Remember, you've seen South Park?
Yeah.
You know the episode about member berries?
I was getting a bit worried, but yeah, I remember that episode.
I'm basically one of them. I literally take all of chat on a nostalgia time. Remember whenever you couldn't cross a bridge in PUBG without being sent into space if you were in a car? Remember when there was a trike? Remember whenever you had the speedy boy and the flippy boy? Like these are the good old days.
Hey, look, you still do when you've got me driving.
Well, that is true. Remember how if you popped the tire on a flippy boy, it became more stable?
I kind of remember. Look, we've been around for a while now. Now that we're thinking back on it, look, we spoke about this at the beginning of the tour, didn't we? The 8-year anniversary of PUBG. It's really, sorry, was it 8? I can't remember. There's been so many anniversaries to say. Yeah, 8-year anniversary of PUBG. It has been an amazing ride, and I think that now, we spoke about it a lot again at the beginning of the tour, the 8-year anniversary, going back to TPP for some of the events. It is very nostalgic, and we've seen a lot of OG names appearing back in the lobby. I'm pretty sure, didn't we see K-Mind at one point playing? I think it was with, it wasn't with Empire, but I think it was with a couple of players that are currently on their roster.
Yeah, so you had K-Mind playing, I think...
J-Sang?
Yeah, J-Sank was playing. Like there was a lot of players in there from the good old days, and I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask chat, because we've had so many years now of PUBG in the game. What is your favorite comp memory, Chunks? What is kind of the moment to you that you just get so warm and fuzzy inside of when you think about competitive PUBG?
I think there are too many to count. I think for me, I've attended 2 LAN events, both as a fan. And for me, I Am Katowice was the highlight of like old school PUBG. I think part of it is being there and experiencing it live. So I would highly recommend, look, if you're in an area where you can get to a PUBG LAN, you should definitely get along, because the hype and the energy is amazing. It just adds a whole other level to watching PUBG. So get your tickets booked for PNC now if you haven't already.
I think for me, one of my favorite moments in all of PUBG was probably Sonic's first ever success globally.
Yeah.
I remember that so fondly. Like that was one hell of a performance internationally. They absolutely smashed it. I think it wasn't it PGIS 2021? I think it was 2021. That's 4 years ago now.
Liquid. They're trying to have some success, but not finding it just yet. Never mind, Luke 12 sparking. They just completely pop off. Take out Renee. Beautifully done. 4 kill points on the board. Not taking really any damage. Sparking got caught with, what, a single bullet before wiping them? Yeah, amazing play there from Liquid. But back to old school memories. That right there reminds me of a crash. That it was it was the only PGC I ever got to cast. I was casting alongside Xenox, and it was a really popular clip where it was Genji and Sonics, and I think they were, I can't remember exactly the specifics, but it was like an intense fight, and Sonics make this insane crash and go in and wipe out Genji. And you know the worst part about that? My internet died right as the crash was coming through.
I remember that clip was shown recently as well on on one of the memory videos as well, and we got people in chat referencing the old Tempo Storm team. Like, man, we've had a hell of a time in PUBG, and with UE5 coming out and all the updates, hopefully we have 8 to 10 more years of this incredible game that we love, as HWin will make sure that Mime only has 2 more maps tonight to play, unless, of course, Bestia come back in a little while and pick up his little chip and give it a little blazer. But maybe they might not be given the opportunity because Sam Crow is standing and waiting. He's going to get that knock, but there's N0 to instantly trade it back. But Chunks, Kerak, and Psycho are closing on the other side, and Bestia, they are not in a good spot, and I feel like Falcons might just get a line of sight over this ridge line now too.
Vinny looking out to try and find something. He does need to be careful of this push now with Tony behind. He's going to throw out a frag grenade. Maybe thinks that one of those players is going to be holding the ball, but that is not the case. He's got the Panzer. If he gets eyes onto Vinny, I reckon that's going to be a confirm and a knock to go with it. And Zito is going to be holding inside the building. He saw that door shut, so he's going to have an idea that there is at least one player in there. But that Panzer, it all comes down to who you decide to use it on. As of right now, though, Tony, he's going to be moving back. Psycho coming in for a bit of support. Falcons, they're starting to get aggressive over this ridgeline. So, Bestia, they are in such a difficult position to try and make it out of this.
Yeah, and Zito with the AUG as well is waiting. He's feeding information to his teammates, but as we said, Falcons are keeping the pressure on from the other side as HWin will land a ton of damage. Kerak still down, but Tony has the Panzer. There's 2 Panzers in this fight, and that could make all the difference. The opening knock can be so important now in the next phase of this fight. DraftKing, he's got a nade at the ready, cooks it to about 75% and finds 50 damage off the back of it. But 55 are still waiting. And look at the Shrimsy and Kick now have both got themselves angles onto this fight from the other side. And Psycho's going to step up, and it's a trade. Vinny hits Psycho with a Panzer, and Psycho will hit him with some 5.56, and the kill is stolen away by Kickstart as it's just mutually assured destruction. And there we go, Tony. He's got a Panzer of his own as he hits Nzito square in the chest, making it into a massive hollow circle. And now it's just Tony getting Psycho back on his feet and DraftKing left alive for Bestia, and he better stop peeking those windows.
This isn't a Panzer Faust, this is a Panzer Fest right now. Every player seemingly having one and launching them out, but it's Kickstart in the end who finishes off 55 Esports. He's now looking to do the same over on towards DraftKing. They're currently inside the zone, so if they want to, they can crash this. There aren't too many teams that are in a threatening position, but obviously they would have to concede a very powerful hillside, and the chance of being able to keep all 4 players up on a crash against DraftKing, yeah, they're not odds that I would want to take personally. But then again, this is Falcons we're talking about.
Yeah, and they know the importance of kills, and I think they're having fun. They're another team that are basically secure next week, so at this point, they can just have some fun with it. They can third-party fights, and at the same time, they'll still show the teams around them the respect that maybe they deserve as well. They're not just going to go too crazy with it, but circle shifts goes directly towards Liquid now, center of the circle, and I'll be curious as to whether they jump into Luke's compound or whether they all consolidate a little bit closer to the center, because they have their choice of positions here, Chunks.
I think this is the first time we've seen a zone like this so far in the Players Tour. We've seen some similar, but they've been a bit further down to the south, so it's going to be interesting to see how teams choose to approach this. As Liquid, they're going to be looking to get some knocks, flushing out one from Rock, but Rock find their own on the drive-by. They're looking over towards one up to the north, potentially going to try take some shots there as well, but for the time being, they're just going to be happy under this bridge. They could potentially set up a bridge camp here with Falcons now starting to make a rotate down there.
Yeah, I love how the helicopter glitch is still on this truck. The fact that the porter still makes the back of it look like it's spinning in the air as it drives, but I think we did have a circle not too dissimilar to this, Chunks, where I believe it was 55 Esports were playing inside of Shipyard alongside Empire. And it finished just where, I believe just south of Shipyard. But we got to wait to see where this one goes from here. As Sparking, he's got Jibs not too far away. Jibs gets the knock onto Kurt, but Sparking, like a good teammate, he is there. I just basically said the ad read, didn't I? From one of the... what's the American ad that has that exact same line? But now Kauza from Citrus Flow. Oh my God, Sigma, what are you doing?
That is a rough play there from Sigma as Citrus Flow now looking to try and salvage this fight, but they've lost Sigma and LG. They need to try and get Voxic back up. He's a little bit in no man's land right now. Smokes are going to come through over onto Causa, trying to break that line of sight. They look like they want to try and get the revive. That frag grenade over onto Josh could be useful and will limit the options that Citrus Flow have to work with. Snakers just peeking around that wall without exposing himself, using that third-person advantage. As the smoke comes out, Citrus Flow, it looks like they want to try and close in on this. They want to try and salvage something, but they just don't have any info to work with. As, yeah, Kawazin's picking up kills again. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that's the second time in 2 maps somebody's panzered all over themselves as well. It just keeps happening over and over again. But LG, they're on the wrong side of the leaderboard. They're going to look to make that right and go to the left if they can get a couple more kills on the board here against Citrus Flow. But, you know, they're not the only teams that are in and around. Luke 12, he's not too far away. He's keeping an eye on what's going on. Ken Carson, the exact same for his team, just a little further. Why is my brain just went numb? But it's Benny Bicky, isn't it, that are just peeking, or Bicky Benny that are peeking over. Bicky Banditos, there we go. I got there eventually.
Look, there's a lot of new teams in this lobby. We've spoken about it before, haven't we? There's a lot of new teams that are appearing. It's hard to keep track sometimes. We apologise to any of those players, any of their fans that might be saying, how can't you remember the name? Look, we're dealing with a lot of new teams coming into the lobby. Remember, ! Register if you want to stand a chance at getting into this Players Cup, because we've seen anyone can make it through. It's just about being consistent, having a good few performances. And well, Liquid, they should have a pretty good performance based off of this zone.
And the Bicky Banditos, does that mean the Bike Bandits, by the way? I'm pretty sure it means the Bike Bandits. What a great name that is in this position as LG begin pushing a little bit more. Snakers, of course, with that FAMAS can do a ton of damage, or the FAMAS with FAMAS very quickly. Blue Zone Nade will push him out. Citrus with a Panzer in their hands. That might be dangerous for LG or Citrus, depending on what Lataro is going to do. He's going to jump out onto the windowsill, peek across, but the Bizzler will toss Nade in. The door is going to be opened. Lataro's full blind. Do not click right trigger. Don't click it. Snakers clicks his. He gets the knock onto Lataro. And now it's all Kauza with the shotgun. Last player standing. Bizzler tosses the nade over the wall, but they know where Kauza is. They're not going to take too much of a risk here, but LG about to wipe them out.
Look at this on the minimap, though. Alcudia, they're looking over towards this fight. They know that something is happening. They just don't have a line of sight onto it quite yet. Kauza, he's waiting there with the shotgun. That might just be peeking over the wall enough to give some info away. As Bestia, they've actually picked up Emmy, so he's now going to be back in the fight. He needs to try and grab himself some loot, and he needs to avoid being shot out of midair right now.
Yeah, look, one shot takes him down to 33 HP. And the thing is, if you're pushing this, you know for a fact that he's just been brought back, so he's got no helmet, no vest, no guns. So you push that aggressively as quick as you can, but I don't think that Yayi is going to do it because the rest of the Bicky Banditos are too far away. So Citrus Flow still peeking through the wall. Stun Grade's going to get thrown. It bounces up nicely to buy them a little bit of time. But look at this. Rock is starting to peek over the ridge line, and that's going to cause a problem. Kauza will find one. Peeks on over. 29 HP and a dream. And there you go. Snakers will panzer up over the wall. Manages to get the kill confirmed. But Roth is just feeding all this information over to Alcudia, Chunks.
Rock, they're reading some information of their own. They do need to be careful. Remember, on this new patch, we now have the red zone inside of Esports, so BL not completely safe. It looks like it should be dying down a bit soon. As BL just holding that ridgeline, keeping an eye out for those in check players, feeding back the info. There's only 2 of them left up, so it could be a push that Rock decide to take, but Solds, again, he tends to play as kind of a solo. He's always anchoring out in a different angle, gathering info for his team. He's willing to take engagements, but he's not necessarily proactive with it. As there we go. We got the BRDM back. This is what we've been waiting for. Emmy's going to be inside of it, and the circle, it shifts over to them. So at the very least, sure, they might not need to rotate, but they've got a lot of extra cover wherever they decide to pull up.
It's pink. I'm getting flashbacks of EMEA now already. Did you see the Pixel clip?
I didn't. I saw it come up on my feed, but I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Right. If anybody gets the chance, watch the clip from Pixel at the end of the night. It was just ridiculous. He was driving around, running over people. He blocked a team inside a cabin, or inside a shack. I think it was Twisted Minds. They couldn't get out. It was absolutely bullying. And Pixel said it himself, right? All you gotta do is shoot it. He said if a full team has an extended mag on their ARs and they all concentrate their fire on the BRDM, it gets blown up in a matter of seconds. But not a single team, until Eternal Fire at the end of the game, even thought about doing that. And because of it, he was just able to be a menace to the whole lobby. So, just shoot the BRDM. Just take shots at it. Don't let Toyo use it to bully the lobby.
I mean, that's something that I mentioned last night. I really assumed that they wouldn't be as powerful in a lobby like this because, you know, teams can hit their shots. They can hit a full mag dump onto a vehicle, no problem. Sure, it's harder to hit players out of it, but when you've got a moving vehicle as big as the BRDM, you would imagine that any team in this lobby should be able to wipe it. As a bunch of crates come in now, I do wonder whether Mime is going to try and go for these crates, even with Falcons around, because he's in a bit of a difficult position, parachuting in as the solo here for Bestia. Rock, they're in a difficult spot, but they're going to make the most out of a bad situation, sending it in inside of the van. A little bit of extra cover. They now should be safe. Solds, good job he hit the brakes in time, because that was close to heading straight into Santala.
Yeah, I think I know why teams don't do it though, Chunks. I think it's the ammo.
Yeah.
Players in comp lobbies at the top don't take the abundance of ammo that players inside of regulars or casual. Oh my god, Kawazine, what a need that is as he gets through, but they don't take the ammo to be able to do the damage that they need to destroy it. So now Mira, they're going to toss another few nades inside the circle. BL will be down and out. Kawazine confirms out that kill as Santa pushes up close to the wall. But for Rock, they made the push, and yeah, Chunks, as you said, Alcudia, they're pushing in, but Fana, he's got the Panzer waiting.
Alcudia, Roth, he gets punished. The Panzer, it's going to be looking over towards those Alcudia players, but he hasn't been able to find the line of sight just yet. Fana playing point. It's hard to get those over the wall, but you can just blow it up straight through it. Down goes Rello as he takes down LFP with a nade on the way. Fakes him, Fana both falling, so it's all onto the young gunner. Kawazine boosting up. He's got bandages, should be able to heal most of the way before D is able to make a push onto this. It almost looks like he wants to try and stick the res over towards Rello, so Alcudia should be back up to at least 2 as long as Kawazine doesn't peek out of this, which it certainly seems like he might. Rello does actually get flushed out, so it's only going to be Roth left up. He's calling this out over to D. He's got to hear those footsteps even if he doesn't see the player, so D's going to have a good read on this as now Kawazine moves back for the res, wants to get a little bit of extra support, and this could be Alcudia's opportunity to push.
Yeah, I think Kawazine could potentially go for the res if he so chose, as Kawazine will confirm out the kill onto Roth. Now, remember, D, who is one of the youngest players in the Americas, is essentially a seasoned veteran compared to Kawazine when you consider the age difference in these two players. Both of them, though, only really starting their journeys. D will toss some smokes out, pressure being put on his position, but you can see shots coming in from Draft King now, who is inside the blue. So Kawazine's got LFP back on his feet. Fana is crawling this way, and I think Fana will get inside. So Mira should be able to get 3 players back up and continue to try to close the gap. But now D, he's in a spot of trouble, Chunks. The blue zone, 5 damage a tick. Another shot landed from Pesadeo. And yeah, I think Mira, they're going to keep an eye on the kill feed, and as long as D's alive, they're going to keep an eye this way.
Yeah, we spoke about D in terms of a seasoned veteran. It may be a new name, but this player's been around for a while, previously under the moniker of Fadeaway. We've all seen how strong he can be. I believe he's played in a couple of other regions as well. I want to say it was either Korea or China, where he's previously been playing up against some of the top players in the world. As Luke 12, he just hit a mortar strike.
Yeah, why not? Drop it on top. Bestia eliminated. Injeka team eliminated as we get 2 teams fall. But if you're watching at home, this is not the placement point positions. It's only the top 4 as of this event. Waiting on confirmation to see if it's just a TPP thing or whether it will go to other events. But here come Mira. They're going to crash inside the tree. And Mira, they're going to put some pressure back the other way. One more shot from Legit Steeman, but he's missing every single one until the end. He will eventually land it onto Kawazine, but now we've got another crash. LG going sidewards, forwards, upside down, and potentially out of the lobby as Rock put pressure on. And Santa, well, normally he's the one giving the gifts, but this time for a change, he's receiving them as LG will deliver those points this way. But now, Chunks, you've got Animaniacs looking towards Falcons, who've very quietly been racking up a very good game here as well.
I think Bizler, or it might have been Gats, whoever the last player up from LG was there, I think they thought they were trying to be slick. They were staying in the vehicle, hoping that all the players that had jumped out had caused enough confusion to make, I think it was Team Mirror. I've lost track. It's such a hectic game. It wasn't Team Mirror, sorry. But either way, I thought he was trying to be slick by staying inside the vehicle, hoping that no one would spot him. Sparking, he spotted out the BRDM, and he has spotted the player jumping out the back, and that's what we're talking about. If you can focus your fire on that BRDM, you can quickly blow it up. That's exactly what happens. So sure, he has a little bit of extra cover to work with around it, but he's over at a tree out on his own right now. He had to get away from that explosion. The circle, it shifted slightly over to the west, so Liquid and Rock both in a decent position. What I will say is Rock only have 2 players left.
Yeah, and Rock with 2 players left, though, I've got a lot of space in the side of the circle. Like, in reality, it's just the Animaniacs to the north who eventually will have to push this way. Everyone else is a little bit more focused on the east, like Falcons, Toyo, Liquid, and then down to the south, Rush to Win. All looking to make something happening as Tig jumps back on board inside his Lambo. Isn't it funny that he's driving a Lambo, even though he looks very similar to Danny Ricciardo, who did drive a McLaren?
It looks like he's going to try and use the style points to his advantage here, pull it up over at the tree. But Emmy has a nade in hand. Doesn't look like he's going to throw it just yet. Toyo are a little bit split up, so they do want to try and group up on Emmy's position. It's going to be a lot easier said than done when Kickstart's able to spot him out from an off angle. Falcon's on 10 kills right now, an absolute tear, and still 4 players strong. Benya's going to try and engage from over the hillside, but instead hops inside the vehicle, going to group up over with his teammate, and Tiggleton tries to land the spray. He just can't connect with it, needs to be careful, because Adria is peeking out, but hasn't taken any shots.
Yeah, and at this point now, Kick, who's been having a phenomenal game so far, will look to be more damage. Kurt's going to get crashed now, but it is just one Toyo member, and, well, they're going to play a game of peekaboo, but Kurt, oh, he hops inside! He does a little bit of illusion, a little bit of movement, but Benya can't outsmart the veteran Kurt, who has seen everything that could possibly happen inside a game of PUBG. Down goes Toyo, and there's now 5 teams left alive. Falcons with 11 points on the board. Kickstart with 8 of those all by himself. And they are in prime position to really capitalize off the back of this one, Chunks. And they've still got utility to burn as Liquid now. They get another kill on the board. They get Zog V. He's been dealt with, and now Demon should be the next to fall. And now we've got our top 4.
Rush to Win. They tried to make the push over onto Kurt, but the rest of Liquid were there to support as Tiggleton opens up onto Mixtall. H-Win follows up with a frag grenade. They're popping those tires, making sure that vehicle is useless, but There's still that player to take into account, and now Liquid, they're starting to get involved as well. Shots land over on towards Shrimsy as Luke 12 gets caught with the flashbang. Halo's able to finish up the job. Falcons losing their first player of the game, but still 11 kills to go with it, and they have the high ground. Remember, he was out as a solo. He was playing that anchor position, so the rest of Falcons aren't necessarily under threat right now. They could be shortly, though, if Animaniacs are able to stick this revive and get 2 players back up.
Tig has sent the mortars on the mortar as well as he tries to get some Tignometry up and running to see what can happen. You can hear them landing, but not far enough to do any real damage of note. That one's a lot closer as Mixstall will take 52 damage. Tiggleton, third time is the charm. Mortar sent up through the sky. Souls, he'll get the kill confirmed though. Let's see if the mortar lands on the spot, but it's a little bit too late as Souls will wipe it out. And the mortar did land exactly where it needed to, but just a couple of seconds too late. Kurt now pushing up. The rest of Falcons now under a ton of pressure. Kickstart's a little far away as the nade does a ton of damage on the Tig here, Chunks. The second nade from quarterback Kurt will land on the money. He steps up over the rock, bites off more than he can chew, and Kickstart gets another knock.
Sometimes the best offense is strong defense, as now H-Win and Kickstart working together to defend their position. H-Win playing that off angle, catching players off guard, but Halo catches him with a huge headshot in return. 13 kills on the board for Falcons with only a solo left up. Liquid with 14, and they are sticking that revive surely as they throw down the BZ nades, forcing the player off of the hill. They flush out H-Win not only to get them up to 15 points, but also to deny Falcons that little bit of extra info. As Liquid, they're going to be forced to make a move. They're not inside the zone, and Kickstart, he is pinned down with only a crate for cover. Sold, again, playing as a bit of a solo here for Rock. It's worked out for them. He's picked up 4 kills for the squad, but he is still looking for his 5th as he gets absolutely lit up. The zone's on his back. If he doesn't deny to zone, then surely Kickstart can finish the job.
If you come at the kick, you best not miss, and that's what happened with Souls. He had the chance, but Kickstart drops a 10 bomb on the lobby. 10 points for him himself in this game, and he's looking to add more, but it's a 1 versus 3. Liquid against Kick for the win. Falcons, they'll be happy with whatever happens. But Chunks, look at this Liquid with 15 kills of their own, as Kickstart will deal even more damage onto the solo member of Liquid, as Sparking will push the other way. King versus Kick. I said you go with the Kick, you best not miss. Well, that saying was originally about coming at the King, and here comes the King. Chunks, Sparking wants to get this game won here and now, but it's Halo who puts him to the sword.
Beautifully done from Liquid. 16 kills and the win. Remember, new point system, so that is 21 points from this game. Putting in work to be able to finish off Falcons in what was a position that maybe they weren't likely to win from. When you saw how Falcons, they had players in the off angles, they were able to get a couple of knocks, but Liquid, they just came out on top. Sparking and Halo working together as a unit in the end game. And remember, when we typically see Liquid fight, it's going to be Luke 12 and Sparking playing off on their own. Halo and Purdy Curdy both working together as more of that kind of point position. But right there, you show that when you play together a while, when you have that synergy, it doesn't matter which players are standing, you're still able to pull it off as a duo. Beautifully done there from Liquid to get the win.
Yeah, Liquid got the win, but Falcons with a ton of points on the board as well. Rock making another appearance in the late game as they continue to extend their points at the top as the rich keep on getting richer. But, you know, those two teams, Liquid and Falcons, just put on a clinic on how to win gunfights, how to capitalize on other gunfights, because at the end of the day, there was stolen kills from both sides. I love this. I absolutely love this. Like, someone in chat said that Kurt thought that the guy went for the drop shot, and you could see it. He aimed towards the ground before he flicked on over. And then here we go. Kick got his one, but he was never going to win that fight at the end. But
really,
10 points. Go ahead.
Really, really impressive there from Kurt with that play to be able to make something out of it when, honestly, you had to think the opposing player probably had the jump on him, but 21 points from Team Liquid, 16 kills, but Falcons getting 14. Between the two of them, they basically wiped out half the lobby.
Yeah, almost half the lobby, but Chunks, the thing for me, Kick got more points than 14 teams in the lobby by himself. He got 10 kills, not even including the, you know, the couple of placement points that he got, but he got more kills than most of the lobby. So that puts Falcons now into second place. Rocker on top. You look at that, 3 teams in the 50s, 1 in the 60s. Oh, I'm looking. Al-Qudsiya, Animaniacs, LG, Bestia, and I wouldn't even rule out any of the teams below that, all still within a chance of getting inside the top 8.
I think it's a battle for 6th place at this point. Toyo have themselves a bit of a buffer, but it's not enough to feel confident with 2 games left to go. So they really need to keep applying that pressure, get themselves a decent number of kills in at least one of our final 2 games, and they should be confirmed. But it is anyone's game right now. Look, the number of kills that we've seen in that last game, it shows that a team is capable of getting 10, 15 kills when they need to. If one of our bottom teams is able to do that 2 games in a row, that could be enough to put them into the top 8, and remember, it's the top 8 that qualifies you for the Masters and that $20,000 prize pool. But we've still got 2 games left to go, so we'll be back in just a couple minutes with more TPP.
Welcome everyone back to the PUBG Players Cup, where there's a very big debate going on right now about what keybinds everyone uses. Chunk, if you're not playing your game with a Guitar Hero drum kit or a Logitech racing steering wheel or other brand of steering wheels are available, are you really playing PUBG?
See, you say that as a bit of a joke, but I know for a fact I have seen players before using the pedals from their racing wheels as extra buttons. So never rule it out. There's always different play styles, different strategies you want to use. And I'm going to clear up the debate right now, because there is a debate in chat about vehicle keys. The best combination, okay? Seat number 2 needs to be bound to E. Seat number 3 needs to be bound to Q. That way, when you go to do a seat swap, you press E, you go out to the right. It's on the right of your keyboard. You press Q, you go out to the left. Sharing facts right here.
Well, on your point, I actually know some people who use the pedals for lean. So left pedals lean left, right pedals lean right. Like, I guess, whatever's you, but I don't think you can bring them. If you ever get good enough to qualify for an international LAN, I don't quite think you're allowed to bring your racing pedals with you to an event. But Chunks, we got to jump into the randomness of Rondo next, which is the 3rd game on the night, as we're already halfway through the action tonight and 75% through all of the games of this week's Super Cup, or not Super Cup, but just Players Cup, Chunks. But Flight Path, very Eastern favoured.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to rule out that Northern Circle, because it feels like a lot of the time when we get those north to south planes, we do end up going kind of north of the stadium. So I don't know why, I just have a feeling. Obviously, we're going to have to wait to see where it pops, find out where we're going to go. But it actually doesn't look like we're going to see any hot drops today. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. Look up on the northeast.
Ah, I see Njeke team and Rush to Win landing it not too far away from each other, as it might just be a battle for vehicles. But I think Zogv, of course, the America's version of Godv, working their way on in. And Chunks, I'm looking elsewhere, right? No real flash points just yet. But with a circle like that, all those teams that dropped late need to work their way in. And I'd love to see Rock, maybe Renee, rotate all the way up the west. Avoid the traffic in the south. Make your way in from Zhaotin and play the circle that way.
Yeah, I mean, with this circle and how few teams, I should say, are actually going to be inside it, there's a lot to take into account. But I will say, test track, we can't forget about it. It's inside the circle. We haven't seen it all too much here in the Players Tour, but when we have, it was Typhon Gaming, now 55 Esports, who absolutely dominated. So they are looking in a really good position if that circle does pull down there. But what I will say is, in that week where we saw them dominate, Falcons weren't in the lobby.
That is true. And Falcons are here. But Chunks, we saw Team Liquid just before that on your screen. What do you make of our APAC team? Where we got Spark Queen, Luke 13, you know,
I love
Bilo.
I love the APAC teams. I'm pretty sure that was an OCE roster. I can only guess.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah,
It's like it's Hikerman and all those guys.
Yeah, so it's like Bikini Bottom Barrel Busters. I'm not sure whether you remember that squad. I think that was formerly 36 Cartel. And a little bit of info here. I feel like enough time has passed where I can share this one. So I was covering the OCE quals for, I think it was PCS 6, PCS 7, something like that, when Bikini Bottom Barrel Busters were going through the qualifiers. And I said to a person at PUBG, I'm not going to call them out, but I will say it's somebody who we both know very well. I said, hey, look, are you sure you're going to allow this team? Because they're very good. And he said, there's no chance they're going to qualify. And you'll never guess what happened. They qualified. So I think that's when, I'm trying to remember what they had to rebrand to, but they did have to rebrand in the end. But OC, best names by far.
We've had some incredible team names in the past. Like, the Gunners. Like, come on.
What? They're just a bunch of goons. That's the joke, right?
They played in Yeah, that's it. That's what the joke means. 100%. 100%.
That's why they got a big Batman villain as the logo. It all makes sense. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Moving on from that one, but yeah, look, I love that. I love those team names. It's a bit of fun. It's a team like Gunners. They got tons of fans, and rightly so. They played with their hearts on their sleeves and their finger on the W key, and a lot of people enjoyed that because it's entertaining. You know, it's not entertaining if you're in the lobby. It's not entertaining if you're Team Liquid.
One thing I will say though, look, Gunners, they're a squad. They love to push. They love to take fights. Endgame, they haven't really made it to a lot of them, at least in the Players Tour. We have seen them previously in the Players Tour. We've got a new point system here. So if you're a Gooner and you're in chat, make sure you go and let the Gooners roster know that this point system's changed, because this could be a really good point system for them. What?
Problem is with the Gunners, like they never get the job done.
I mean, accurate, you know. They have struggled to get the wins.
Anyways, let's get back on track. Let's get back into the game as Rush to Win. They see Vinny rotating past from Njeke team. All this going on the northeast section of the circle. Phase 1, of course, so they've got plenty of time to work their way in. And Rush to Win, they didn't see that as the opportunity to get the first knock. There was no real chance to take shots onto Vinny. But what that might do is lure the rest of Njeke team into a false sense of security to think that there's nobody there. Nobody's holding this spot.
I'm a little bit confused about the path that Njeke are taking for this rotate. Remember, make sure that you pull up the map stream with exclamation point map. Yeah, we'll talk about the BRDM in a second. But I just want to finish this point with Njeke sending Vinny in this direction, it's an interesting play. I mean, you know, I'm not a competitive player. I tried to play scrims at one point. It didn't go too well. And yeah, if it was me and you're in Czech, you play up to the north because you know barely anyone is going to be playing that. Sure, you've got some bridges to cross, but just for the chance of that northern shift, to be able to set yourself in a gatekeeping position in a kill-heavy point system, it would make more sense to me to rotate up to the northwest rather than to pull down to the south and come in from the east where you've got a team like Mirror already starting to rotate in. Granted, they don't know that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You've got to wonder what a lot of these teams know. And when I talk to IGLs, when I talk to... yes, Luke 12, floating around the top of the roof like Homelander as he sees what's going on. But I think when you speak to IGLs and you speak to teams, they look at every team in the lobby and they study map after map after map after map of rotations, and they can... I guarantee you, they could pretty accurately point out where a team is going to be after phase 1 based on their drop spots and based on the circle. And it's incredible to understand that information. And you can tell that Citrus Flow have no clue that Team Liquid are here. And Kauza is just rolling on up to deliver a free point to Team Liquid. There you go. Thank you very much. And Lotaro, he's going to turn tail and go back towards Citrus, who've just seen one of their teammates get pulverized into fresh orange juice.
Yeah, Luke 12 with the trigger discipline right there, not taking the shot until the player closed in. I'm not sure whether it was a case of he didn't feel confident getting the kill, whether he wanted to line up with Kurt's shots, make sure that they were shooting at the same time. But either way, really nicely done from Liquid to be able to get that point. And also, they've just got an extra vehicle out of it, which is going to be handy for them.
Yeah, thanks. That'll help them a little bit later on. Remember, this is a position we saw Liquid in yesterday as the BRDM of Bestia will roll on by. And remember, if everybody just focuses their fire, it should be job done. Now Benya, he spots out DraftKing. DraftKing misses with a Panzer. And now he thinks, oh, no, don't run over them as you jump inside Capitan and Benya. Bestia, what the hell are you doing? You have all of the advantages, you hold all the cards, and Toyo, well, they're going to do some real damage. Another Panzer is missed, and Bestia, they've been bested by Toyo. And Chunks, that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't, but, you know, the BRDM, don't get me wrong, it's insane, but we have spoken about this a few times. If you get enough bullets into it, it's going to do damage. You can get overconfident. It isn't a tank at the end of the day. Granted, it can tank a lot of damage, but it isn't impenetrable. And when you send it into a compound like that, what are your real options? As soon as you jump out of that vehicle, everyone is looking in your direction. So that is really unfortunate from Bestia there. And Kawazine, he's just going to casually get a squad wipe off in the background.
Yeah, but Kawazine's just him. Like, he's actually... Like, I don't think if there's any terms for Kawazine that we haven't used, any superlatives that we could use to describe him any better, but it's not even the BDR or the BDRM. It was, they missed 2 Panzerfausts. They have the element of surprise. Like, a lot of the time when you watch these drive-bys and BRDMs, you catch the team by surprise by jumping out, and they tried it. They fired 2 Panzers, they missed both, and you're just asking for trouble. Like you saw at the very end, you missed the Panzer, then you got to switch weapons, and you're standing out in the middle of the open. Like, it's unfortunate, but you can't feel sorry for them either because you have to be hitting those shots with a Panzer, and if you do, it's a completely different fight. But Chunks, we'll move on. Circle Donuts right on up, and Falcons, well, them and Al-Qudsiya are eating good right now.
Yeah, they are going to be really happy about this spot. They have got a bit of a 2-2 split, which could come under threat from Mirror here. This hillside, sure, it's powerful, but again, if you are exposed and a team is able to spot that out, then someone like 55 could try and thread their way through the middle. As of right now, you've mentioned it a few times, haven't you, Gibson? It's that inverse donut. Everyone went center dead early, so when you get a circle like this, not many teams are going to have to make a move. In Czech, do need to be cautious up on the northeast, though, as they're making a rotate straight through Luminosity.
Yeah, I'm looking, like, as you said, LG, Czech team's going to go right through the midst of them. The trap has been set up, but Vox, isn't going to get anybody at the first time of asking, but here comes the rest of Njeke team. They're going to send them up onto the hill, which is where Bizzler is driving right now. Snakers, he will try to get one as Bizzler will find Vinny. So one player from Njeke team has been dealt with at least, and Vinny will say goodbye. He'll have to wait until the very next one because his tag is not being picked up here, Chunks.
No, unfortunate, but that's the way it goes. And in Czech, I think they were lucky to only lose one player on that rotate when you see how LG were posted up. Is this going to be... Yeah, it's the BRDM all over again. Benya just absolutely popping off, wiping out Bestia pretty much as a solo right there. I think Capitan managed to get one of the knocks, but it just shows that the BRDM, it's powerful until you're in those engagements. You have to jump out of a vehicle, and those players, they know where you're going to jump out.
Yeah, that's... Look, you got to give Toyo credit too. Like, that was huge from Benya. Benya's another one of the crack players, like him and Capitan. Obviously, Toyo have made some changes recently. I think this is, what, the third or fourth iteration? He's on his map. Don't drive. Don't map and drive, everybody. But, you know, I think this is, what, the third, fourth iteration of the Toyo roster we've had this year so far. I hope for their sake they find the one that works for them, because I have so much love and respect for Capitan and Benya. I think they're incredibly skilled players. I think they've got a really high ceiling, but it just seems like ever since the old rosters they were on, you know, like you think about Benya and those in the old Synergy rosters, they've just not got the team that they need to get a little bit further on.
No, it's rough for them. They're definitely a team with massive potential. I mean, 4 kills on the board, 3 of which coming from Benya. Really, really impressive. As it looks like, are those smokes or are those mortars? I thought they were mortars for a second, but no, it's just going to be the smoke launcher. No, it is mortars. Never mind. So Adria coming under a little bit of pressure. As now, Toyo, they look to try and close things up. This is really smart, and it's something we've spoken about a bit, isn't it? Typically, we'd see teams throw smokes close to them, but instead, in the third-person perspective, teams are all about throwing a long-range smoke, blocking off those lines of sight, and being able to move freely out in the open. But Toyo, they've not made the push just yet. They're not fully committing onto this, because at the end of the day, this compound, it isn't going to be encircled for much longer. So it might be a case where they try and do a little bit of damage just to prevent them from being able to shoot back towards Toyo, then they hop in the vehicles and make a move.
Yeah, and this is now outside the circle as well, so the longer this goes on, the more damage it's doing them for the late game, as it looks like the Animaniacs will attempt to hold them out on the other side. Now, as you can see, one of the members of Renee is alternating between a Molotov and a Bolty in this fight. I don't think he realizes how close they are on the side. And Animaniacs, as we said, setting up the trap, doing a ton of damage onto Benya, and Adria will peek on the side. He does a ton of damage, but I think that Emmy made him come off the gunfire, and that allowed Sticky P the time that he needed to get into the gap and try to get the first aid off. And he's going to peek again. Chunks, he's dancing with the devil, and somehow doesn't get burned at the first time of asking.
Putting in work with that shotgun down on the bottom right as well, as Emmy throws out the flashbang but gets absolutely lit up from Mixtel at long range. Animaniacs putting in work to third party onto this fight, as Renee, with only one player left, manages to make it work. Sticky P, M249, no need to reload, finishes off the job onto those Toyo players, but there's still one more to worry about. 2 kills on the board for Renee, and still 3 players potentially able to get revived, but Sticky P, he's waiting, and that M249, it is just so powerful. They need to get the revives quickly, though, as Animaniacs, they are third partying onto this.
Oh, they're not getting the revives. It's not happening from this point. Sticky P, he's getting held, and the only reason you would revive now is to deny points, right? You go for the res, then the points won't go over to Toyo, which is a cruel thing to do, but you've seen it done in the past, so we'll focus elsewhere. Mira, they've got 4 kills on the board, should I say. Kawazina's 4 on the board, but they look to get some more, as Fakeson will get the knock onto Bunico, and I think that one will be confirmed out now, as well as Legit Demon runs this way, but Chunks Fakeson's got the angle on this one as well, but doesn't hit the shots. That's very unlike him.
He manages to finish a little bit more damage as Mira starting to execute perfectly. Pesadillo goes down as Kawazine. He's going to seat swap. He gets himself yet another knock, but still there's players left up from R2W here. Not sure where. Actually, it's all the way down the hill. It's Zogby, and he's getting lit up now by 55 Esports. One bullet to the leg might have been enough to finish off the job. But 55, as they start to get peppered from long range, Tony is just waiting for his opportunity to get back into the building. The RBN, he's waiting for Sticky P to peek up, catches a lot of damage. He can't finish off the job, switches over to the Mini 14, and it's Sold who gets the first kill of the game for Rock.
Yeah, Sticky P taken down, and down go Rene Lavon. And now we lose even more teams. 11 left alive. Circle's about to pop, and it goes towards Liquid and Al-Qudsiya. Do not be surprised if you see Al-Qudsiya make a move onto either Kurt's position or make a move onto Citrus Flow. Now, LG have got to force their way in. Mira making a direct send in through the center of the circle, because why the hell not? And they're going to get rewarded, so please don't all four of you go into the shack. No. Chunks, I don't know how I feel about this.
Neither do I. I feel like those vehicles could be getting used for cover. It would be a very powerful spot to actually pull those vehicles up, but they have got a little bit of deployable cover here, and that ridge is going to really work out well for them, unless Tiggleton is able to land those mortars over onto Mira's position. They're certainly landing close, and yeah, they're going to be damaging some of those cars. As Mira, they all just sent her up. I mean, you said don't stay in the shack, but right now is the only thing keeping them safe.
But there's four of them in the shack. I guess since they've got Pugs as their name, can we just say that they're in a kennel? Can we call that shack a kennel for the rest of the game? So Mira, they're inside the kennel. Alo for Liquids peeking this way as Mixtall will be made to look very small as he'll go from the high ground to the low, taking a ton of damage from Kerak, but not enough to find the knock that they need. 6 HP, but 55. They're not in the circle. Either are Animaniacs. They've got to take a ton of time. Roth, well, he's going to get on his bike and try to get inside the circle as Snakers will try to thread the needle with these shots. But Roth, I think he's going to get the first aid off. I think that the bamboo is giving him just about enough cover.
Correct. Hopping in the bus, looking to be that final player to make the move now for 55 Esports. They're going to try and find something as Tiggleton, he tries to find more Molotovs, and he finally gets one. Kawazine spotted outside, and if one more lands soon, that could be the end of Kawazine. He will be inside. They're closing the door again. But remember, all the time that Mira are inside of this shack, they are not gathering info. They're not aware of who's pushing them. But Jibs, he's going to be aware that Mixel's pushing him and gets a massive knock out of the vehicle. Only 12G left up inside of the compound as the rest of Animaniacs now start to close through. Flameskir catches 12 off the angle. Beautifully done, but only on 6 HP. Needs to move back, and it's the vehicle explosion to finish off the job. Animaniacs down in 11th.
And in 11th, it's the Animaniacs. There you go. I did it for you. There you go. I did it for you. Anyway, 55 Esports in their BDRM. They're going to crash on into one team, one dream as they hold this position. One kill on the board for 55 at this point, though, is Dream. Well, I'll use a real name. They're really called Dream 1, if you want to give it its correct term. But Nades will be throwing you jump inside the BDRM as over here by the rock inside of the circle. You see Al-Qudsiya getting pushed now. Vox, he spots out Roth. Roth takes a ton of damage. And Tiggleton, he hits it, finally getting some reward for the mortar strikes. And here comes another, but it goes a little too... There we go! H-Win! Anything Tig can do, he can do better, as H-Win will show him how it's done. But look, we'll be honest. Tig did the hard work. He told H-Win where to land them, and down go two teams in the blink of an eye.
H-Win, he's lining up more mortars. I've seen Penta say something in chat. 55 have a BRDM. If they manage to get out of this fight, they have that BRDM. Surely the shack is the next thing that they try and play here. So they could potentially trap Mira inside of the shack with only a BRDM to kind of clamber through to get out. As 55 Esports, first they got to finish off Dream 1, which I will have you singing their name later. I am certain of it. As Tony tries to find an angle through the window, Mira start to peek out, but more mortars are still landing. Surely they've learned their lesson by now.
Yeah, I just remember Dream 1 sounds like Dream On as well. By Aerosmith. There you go. Now you've really got the song stuck in my head at this point. As 55, I see Penta's talking about doing a pixel, but we'll see what happens as Tony will sprint through the pink smoke to get closer to Dream 1. Flamesker has had some nice moments, but as you can see, the HP's not back up to 100. Yep, here we go. Dream 1, you gotta run because there is a C4. It's about to go boom. You force Dream 1 out into the open. They take pressure from elsewhere. But here we go. The explosion. Dream 1 ain't too far away.
It was close, but not close enough as 55. They're picking up a mortar of their own. They've sent players out in the vehicles. I don't think that Dream 1 realise that Tony is still in this position as BL doing the majority of the damage. Tony's going to try and find some, but it's Psycho in the end to finish off Dream 1, and they're going to have to dream on if they want a chance at getting into the top 8. They would have to have a huge performance in our final game to make it through. As Falcons, they are just putting in work right now, taking down some of those 55 players. As Team Liquid, they switch their attention over towards Citrus Flow, and they finish off Sigma down in 6th. Remember, we're on a new point system. That means only the top 4 teams are going to get placement, so it's very kill heavy, and Liquid certainly showing that.
Yeah, as Mark said, the half-price chicken, or it's 50% off for this week only. At least that's what we've been told. You never know. Things might change as Mira are gifted the center of the circle once more. But the real question is, when you step out of this position, you've got some cover to the north, right? You think about that ridge line. So really, you look at 55 and working in silence as being the teams that will really threaten them at this point. But if you're Team Liquid or your Falcons, the question mark is, where do you go from here? Do you push up on the other side of this ridge line? If you go first, Liquid will take shots off. So in reality, if I'm Falcons, I want Liquid to go south towards working in silence, and that frees you up to make that move to the north. But, you know, this is PUBG. Things aren't going to go the way you want them to. Sometimes you need to force the issue. And for Falcons, they're just going to play it by ear. Yes, they're talking about what the next plan is, but they've got to make something happen because the onus is on them as one of the teams on the edge of the blue.
Falcons looking like they are going to start making a move. H-Win, I think he's just grabbing a bit of util, maybe some smokes to make a run and a bunch of frags to go with it, as they're going to be the first team to send it over towards Team Mirror. The pre-nades are coming out, underhand, over the ridge, getting ready to land close to Shrimsy, but he's already moved back. Tiggleton, he goes down to Sparking as flashbangs start to connect. H-Win nearly gets caught out with one as he finally closes in. He's a little bit later than the rest of his team, but it's actually 55 Esports who are giving Falcons a little bit of support here, taking down Mirror from behind, weakening them, but not getting any knocks. Shrimsy now going to be eliminated as the BZ nade forces them over into the corner of the shack. They are so limited on positions, but somehow still surviving it. Sparking the rest of Liquid, they close in. They've now eliminated Falcons. They're going to play the top side of this hill as more BZ nades land. It is the only way, really, to force the pressure onto the shack as Purdy Curdy takes down 2. Kawazine follows suit with the long-range shots from Psycho. Santala finishes off the job onto Purdy Curdy, leaving only 3 players now left up from Liquid.
And the prophecy has been fulfilled. Falcons moved first and Liquid were able to put the pressure on just like we expected as more blue zone nades are thrown. Fexen does not have the time to get a first aid off. LFP, he's first aiding like his life depends on it because it does. Because Fixin is down and out now too. And Sparking will toss the molly inside. But look at this. Rock putting the pressure on. So there's no real way for Liquid to easily push up over that ridgeline and deal with the last Mira player standing. Now at this point, all 4 teams are inside the circle. All 4 teams can essentially fight with each other if they peek the right direction. And I think that Rock, they have the benefit of a good position here. I feel like the one big, I want to say, joker in the pack is going to be that BRDM in the hands of 55 Esports, because it will give them an opening. It'll allow them to get pressure. And Chunks, what a shift that has just been, because now 55 need that BRDM to get on the move.
The question for me is, do they push Liquid? Because in my mind, when you've got that BRDM, sure, you're going to be under a lot of pressure from shots raining in all around, but it gives you that extra protection. If you decide to send it straight over that hill towards Liquid, you could cause a major problem for them right here. Granted, they don't have to move, but they do have to defend. And 55, they've got that player advantage. Rock, they're also going to start making a move. The smokes are going to start flaring up, and this is going to be their opportunity to start working their way in. We've got 15 seconds till the zone starts to move, so Rock don't have to go just yet. 55, they're repositioning, they're getting on the go. But now, what do they play? Do they decide to play this bridge down to the south? It seems so for the time being, but they've committed 3 players over into this BRDM. I don't think that they go for Mira's position. It will put you in between 2 teams. It is not ideal, but actually, they're not crashing this. They've got themselves a nice rock. They've got themselves a BRDM for some extra cover. They're just going to wait it out for the time being. As they are inside a zone, they can just focus their attention over towards Rock Esports.
Yes, but look at BL's position. I don't think that they know that BL is being a snake and going towards this bush to get the off angle onto the position. Now, here's the thing. You get the knot. As soon as gunfire comes 55's way, they're hopping into that BRDM. But the question is, can BL get there? He runs around the side. He's completely on the off angle. They've got no clue he's here. He pulls the pin on the nade. He drops it right on the position.
No!
But no, the shrapnel doesn't do the damage that it needs to. And all the players hop inside the BRDM. And now Tony, well, BL will manage to find a couple more with that second nade that's been thrown. You got to pick your teammates up. You got to get them inside. You got to do something, because here come the Rock. They're pushing right on in. They've got 55 where they want them, Chunks. And this is so bad for 55.
Correct, sticking the revive, but Sold, he's prepping that nade. If it is well placed, that will be the end of 55, but it's just a little bit short. The second one, it bounces a lot better. Takes down Samcro, but still Tony is in it. The nade's just useless at this point. Sold has a C4 in hand. I'm not sure what he's planning on doing with it, but if he can make it work, this could be the end of 55 Esports. They're using this BRDM for cover. They are staying inside of it, but now the zone has moved away. They have to make a push up to the north, or maybe they're going to push over to the west instead, as they head straight over towards Souls. They're going to run straight through the barricade, try and finish off the job, but it's not to be, as the rest of 55 start to make some noise. Souls gets caught out by Carax. The run over doesn't land onto Santala. He's just out on his own. He's wrapping wide, looking for RBN, and he finishes off the job. Rock down in 4 as everyone from Liquid focuses over onto Tony. He jumps out on the side close to them, but somehow manages to survive only for a second as Luke 12 finishes off the job. And now Liquid, they know that they can push over this hillside towards Mirror. LFP's still alive, but if that door opens up, it will be the end of him. Molotov connect, BZ nade, if they've got any, they're going to use it, but they don't need to. LFP, he falls for Mirror down in 3rd place. Only 2 players left up now for 55 Esports. They're using the deployable shield, the cover, the smoke, everything they can to remain safe, but Liquid are just raining down hell on them.
And at this point, it is really Liquid's game to lose. They're looting up. They're getting what they can. But 55 need to make something happen. As they're out in the open, the nade does a ton of damage. The spray from Alo is good, but the nade from Sparking is great. They run into the blue. They deny, but Liquid will get another chicken dinner. That's 18 points for them as they get some points on the board. And Chunks, I'm so disappointed. I had a rock pun that I was going to use if they won that game, but Team Liquid, they come out on top with 18 points.
Really, really strong performance from Liquid there. It all came down to 55 in my mind on which fight they decided to push. They could have pushed with the BRDM over towards Liquid, but again, we mentioned it a couple times. When you're in a lobby like this, these players, they can hit the sprays. If you have a full team mag dumping you, then that's the end of the BRDM. So I can see why they didn't opt to use it, but they used it to great effect, dodging that grenade damage and somehow surviving until 2nd place.
Yeah, and like you think about the way things went too, like there was lots of fights that 55 did a phenomenal job on their way to that victory. Falcons were so unlucky they didn't get more kills with those mortars because they were right on point for where the team was, but they were just inside the safety spot. You saw Tiggleton get that kill confirmed, then now Hitchwin will send another strike right on top of Luminosity, and that dealt with them. But Falcons to kick it on. Like, I think the last 5 teams alive were the top 5 teams inside the lobby, so the rich did get on richer. But Chunks, how close was BL there to wiping out all of 55 as well?
It was such a close one. BL, he stayed quiet till the final seconds, and he threw out the nades, but it was just a little bit too early. The position was given away, and he eventually got wiped out. But it's Team Liquid that take the win with 13 kills. That's 18 points for them, and it is just so consistent up at the top end of things. When we look at the leaderboards, the same faces appearing. It shows just how strong and adaptable these squads are able to be. Dream One, they were able to get 4 points on the board, and that is nearly half of their points in total, but they have a long way to go, just as many of the other teams do down in the bottom half. It is still close, though, around that 8th position. Remember, it is the top 8 that move through to the Masters. The bottom 8, well, they're going to have to come back again if they want to stand a chance of getting their hands on that $20,000 prize pool.
Yeah, just 4 points separating 7th place from 10th place, so a couple of kills could be the difference between qualification and having to run the gauntlet through scrims to qualify next week for the Masters, which is, again, as I said, a $20,000 competition. But folks, there is one more game left to go on the night. It is on in about 5 minutes time, so we're going to jump into a quick break. I advise you get hydrated, get some popcorn, get ready, because for the last time this month, Chunks, because you and I are both away, I believe, we're getting ready to cast some PUBG. We'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be a soldier. Waste my time.
Welcome back to the PUBG Players Cup, and this is it. The final map of the night is going to start pretty quickly. This is the game which will determine who is qualifying for the Masters in a few weeks' time. $20,000 up for grabs. The teams that don't make it, they have to run the gauntlet once more to try and get into the top 8. And the next one, as one of the teams that did not make it because of Michael, because he didn't sign the team up, appear in chat for the first time tonight. But Chunks, I'm going to ask you now, we've seen 7 maps on the new patch, and because we're paid and we don't want to lose our jobs, why don't we talk about the things that you love about this patch? What do you think has been interesting to watch?
I think everything. Now, I know that this patch is controversial. I'm not going to skirt around that fact. I know that some people aren't happy with it, but I've been saying for a long time that we need to keep things fresh in PUBG. It's amazing watching the esports, don't get me wrong. I love watching PUBG esports, but when you have 6 games in a row over the course of 3 days in a row, it can sometimes feel, especially if you get similar circles, it can kind of drag a bit. I think that adding more to the esports is actually a really good thing. It keeps things fresh. Now, will we see this for all events? We still don't know. But at least having it in the Players Tour, it's something new, it's something exciting, and it switches up the game a lot. And I'm really excited to see it. I mean, look, I remember casting an OC PUBG series a long time ago, just after they added the C4s, and the decision was made, let's put the C4s in. It was such an exciting event because you never knew when one was going to appear, and I just hope that we get to see more of this.
In my opinion, I think that the recall system is good. I think it encourages more early game fights, it encourages more hot drops. I think a lot of the players that I spoke to like it, some don't, but I think the majority are like, you know what, it can work. I think for me, I wouldn't have put the C4 in, and I wouldn't have put the BRDM in. I think to me, those are the 2 parts of the patch that I don't like. I'm happy enough with everything else, but I'd also want to say, I guess, Chunks, the massive impact that reducing the reverse speed has made in this patch. We've seen so few reverse crashes, but Chunks, the flight path has been drawn. It is from the southwest up to the northeast, finishing just north of Stalber. But Chunks, pretty much center of the map circle as things stand. Liquid, they're going to be pretty happy, and Falcons, who've been dropping in Severny lately, well, they get to play the game from the outside in.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard circle, which is something we're not too used to seeing to, especially after that Phase 1 pop yesterday, where it looked like we were going down to Millie, everyone sent it down to Millie, and then we ended up over in Milta. But let's not rule out the fact that there is still a little bit of that Millie Island in there, and if the Players Tour it remains to keep its pattern, we're probably going to see a 50-50 circle in Phase 2.
Yeah, I want to see, to finish things off, I want to see something to finish in Pachinki. It's been a long time since I've casted a Pachinki finish. You know, usually you get circles like this that finishes around school apps, where we had that mental finish in the last Super Cup. If you didn't see that finish, watch it back now. In particular, if you didn't see, wasn't it Balefrost's clip to finish that game out? Watch it. You will not be disappointed. And it's usually there or over towards Milta that these circles tend to kick, Chunks, right? So let's go to Pachinki for a change.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of really exciting endings around Pachinki as well. Slightly to the north of it a lot of the time. We haven't seen many kind of end in the city. We've seen some to the north, some down to the south. I'm trying to think now. At least in terms of a wrangle, I don't think we've really seen any city finishes so far in the Players Tour. So that's one to keep an eye out for, because we've seen them a lot. I want to say it's on Tago. We've seen quite a few of them happen. So we'll see how they will play out on a wrangle. It'll be an interesting to watch.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on as things go on. So I think people are mixed about the idea of the res station, the callbacks. I'm on the side of the fence that I like it. I think it's interesting. Like, you call a player back, they come back with no helmet, no vest, no gun. You've seen how easily players shoot people out of the sky with a glider. You see how often players get killed on e-pickups. It is so much easier on a recall to get a kill onto a player. And they've got no control of where they're brought back. Remember, that path is random. So they can be brought into the circle on the complete opposite side of the map to their team. So there is a lot of risk involved with it. And you know, we'll see how it plays out, because it's not had as much of an impact as I think a lot of people were expecting it to in the early stages. But Chunks, let's get into the game. 4 minutes gone. Phase 1 will start closing in about a minute and a half time. Falcons up inside of Severny. We saw them double E-pick up yesterday down towards Millie. I think, oh my god, Peakson. He's going to catch out Benya. But Chunks, Dream 1 under pressure from Toyo early.
This is one of those compounds where we've seen a couple of these circles end, so it's not surprising to see two teams playing for them early on. Dream 1, they've only got 3 players in this position. One's only just arriving, and Sandy, he plays ultra aggressive on this one, does a lot of damage onto Emmy, but he can't finish out the job. Capitan peeks up over on the hill, manages to spot over the UAZ. As Peeks in, he's just trying to find the angle, but he gets caught out by Adria. Really good crossfires being set up here by Toyo Esports, making sure nobody is able to get line of sight onto one player without getting punished by another. They have defended this perfectly. They're going to get the revive. They shouldn't be under too much pressure. But look at this, down on the other side of things, we've got more fights kicking off as Renee, they looked for that E-pick up and rushed to win. They said no thank you. They pushed in, and so have Team Mirror.
Yeah, this is a big fight going on now as Bunico will confirm out one, but Will Griggs is there. He's on fire to get that kill and now rush to win with just Pesadeo and Demon left alive. Mira, they're casting a wide net around this gunfight as things stand though. Kawazine and Fixin, they're going to wrap on the circle side, but Will Grigg, he tosses that nade over the ridge line, but Will Grigg's nade does the damage, but Kawazine and the boys almost finding that one as the fire comes in. LFP finally strikes, and Dream 1, they are going to get eliminated by Toyo in that fight we saw a little earlier. But Chunks, do you see the Animaniacs? They're sneaking up onto this gunfight as well.
Yeah, they are certainly looking to try and get involved as it is an absolute mess down here at Ferry Pier right now. Team Mirror, 2 kills on the board, but they're under a lot of pressure as Kawazine falls. Fakesin's going to try and move in for the trade, but Pesadello is ready for him, manages to land a couple shots even though they don't connect. They at least keep his head down. FCZ sneaking in behind. Animaniacs not wanting to make too much noise. They want to get the info before they commit to the fight.
Yeah, FCZ closing the gap. You want to strike while the iron is hot. You want to catch these teams by surprise, and Mira might just be the team that is in trouble. You can see on the very south side of the circle that I believe that is Fana. He's very, very close now as things stand. Kawazine is down and out of the game. Yes, he can be brought back in by the buyback, but that's only if his team survive, as FCZ will find the knock onto Fana, and he'll step up over and confirm out that one. So Mira down to 2. Animaniacs to the victors go the spoils at this point. And for Will Grigg, he's just got to stay hidden, Chunks. Play, hide, live your life, and maybe they'll forget about you and move into the circle and you can push in a little bit later.
They're going to try and sneak up. They don't want to let the pressure off now because it could allow a team to start sneaking away, which, I mean, if you Mirror, you've got to be starting to consider the fact that maybe it is best to back off out of this one. It's FCZ just trying to spot out some of those remaining players. Again, not overextended. There's 2 solos to worry about here. And again, these teams, they pay so much attention to the kill feed. They will have a good read on the fact that there are multiple squads and potentially even multiple solos in this area. So they can't overexpose to take out one because it's only a matter of time till another one peeks up out of there and catches you off guard.
Alo's just going to chill while the bad weather passes, I guess we'll call it. As he and Kurt keep their vehicle protected, they are just outside of Pachinki as things stand. You know, you've got Bestia over by Smurf Compound a little further away. Remember, if you're wondering why it's called Smurf Compound, because once in a day it was all blue. Alcudsia, D's out in the open. He sees Citrus Flow. They're sitting out in the open. He gets himself... Oh, no! Josh just got flattened by his teammate there as he drives on. Look, there's nothing that his teammate could do, right? But it is funny when you get it from that POV.
Yeah, it's a rough way to get flushed out, but ultimately he was not going to be getting revived there. Tony trying to prevent RNZ from getting revived, but he needs to worry about Vinny first as he opens up the door, or at least looked like he was going to. Sam Crow finds AQN from another angle. 55 have just surrounded in check. I mean, it looked like they were going to get a free crash onto this one from their point of view as they just get punished. They do turn things around. Tony does get knocked as Psycho moves up, decides not to hop through the window, realizes it could open him up, but as he throws down the flashbang, that could cause a problem here for Vinny. As he throws the nade down as a little bit of defense, he's going to be forced to make the move. Throws down a BZ nade, just biding his time right now.
Yeah, smokes have been thrown now, but look at this. You got Toyo, Alcuncia, Falcons, 55, and Zeke team. It is a party, and everybody is invited. Tiggleton will find Roth. The Sam Crow will find Cowboy. Kick doing damage onto Sam Crow as the nade has been tossed up over the ridgeline. Capitan not too far away as the Bizzer. Why not have LG get involved here as well, as everybody wants something up by this little Potato Hill compound. Here is Adria getting up onto the roof as he'll look up over the top, and Psycho is going for the res onto Tony, because why the hell not, as Rello will get on out of there. Alcuncia have had enough. Chunks, what was that? And it's not over yet.
It's the inverse donut, Gibson. You keep speaking about it. It's definitely true right now as Toyo, they finally got Emmy in position. Looks like they're going to commit onto this. Benya just anchoring down to the south, making sure that Falcons aren't going to be able to make a push without him at least getting a say in it. Capitan, he's playing this ridgeline, so he does have to be careful with Tiggleton lingering around. But the rest of Falcons, they've made a move because that circle, it shifted over to the west. Pachinki's still going to be in it. No team currently holding, but Liquid, they've got that Pachinki hill down of their own. They may see Alcuncia take another fight now.
Alcuncia, I want to see what they do as they go back towards Potato Hill, but Chunks, Falcons are going to jump onto LG elsewhere as these two teams continue to fight, as over by that hacker compound, you see Kickstart moving on in. Shrimsy is over by the buyback station, just making sure that nobody from LG is trying to bring back teammates, but I think LG will go elsewhere. Chunks, there's 15 teams in the lobby. Do you want to hazard a guess as to how many teams are in the circle? Yeah.
I do not want to guess based on how messy this fight is over here. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but the C4 has been thrown down. This is smart from Toyo. They know that it can clear a building, and that player is under pressure right now. Tony gets caught with the nade by Capitan as he finishes off the job. That's the end of 55. The C4 goes up, and it's not going to be enough to finish off Vinny. So he's still alive inside this compound. Surely Toyo are aware of this, but no, they're looting up. They think that there's nobody left.
Yeah, and there's Vinny. He just steps on out as Capitan is like, where the hell did he come from? And Emmy will give him a shotgun to the chest as Vinny falls. Capitan will get rezzed at this point, at least you hope so. And elsewhere, Team Liquid, they are battling. But to answer your question, there was 4 teams inside the circle out of the 15 that were alive at the point that I asked that question. Team Liquid will get some points. Now you look up into the sky towards Agus and Halo. Take the shot. Maybe Halo wasn't looking. Maybe that was our observer showing us where he was from that point of view as LFP now. This is still going on in Ferry Pier. Mira might just be about able to get their teammates back, right? I'm looking at the map. There is a callback here inside of Ferry Pier. It's phase 2, so you don't take a lot of damage. So don't be surprised if you see Kawazine and Fana back inside a circle near you very soon.
And there's plenty of bodies to loot as well, but don't forget, Animaniacs, the team third-partied onto this Ferry Pier, or should I say fourth, fifth-partied maybe, onto this Ferry Pier fight. They're still posted up over at the gas station, so they could potentially try and gatekeep Mirror out. They know there's still a squad in this spot. This team's finally making their way into the zone. It's Liquid that seem to have the most central position. August, he's sent it over into Pachinki. Now, if the circle shifts over there, he's going to be a really good position to make it to the late game because there's no one pressuring yet. And you would imagine that if teams do opt to play Pachinki, there's going to be a lot of them sending it at the same time, and he might just get lost in the mix.
Yeah, Chunks, excluding Pachinki, I had a look. There's about 13 to 14 compounds vacant inside the circle, excluding Pachinki. Because you got Navi, you got Tempo, you had the Dirty Dozen, Smurf compound, the compound by Death Road, Snake compound, Ferry. So much space is free. And now that the circle is shifted, Smurf compound is still available. Tempo is still available. That's the compound on the dirt road south of Pachinki Hill. And the Dirty Dozen are available to play as well. There is so much space for teams to move into at this point.
Alcudia, they're trying to make a move of their own. 5 kills on the board, 2 players left up. Remember, keep harping on about it, but it's worth reminding people who may have just joined us, we are on a new point system for the Players Tour, where it's only the top 4 teams that get placements, and there's only 5 placement points for first place, which means that teams are going very kill heavy. We're seeing a lot of early game engagement, and there's another one as Latoro takes down Benya. Should be able to get the flush with the nade, but he needs to be careful because the rest of Toyo, they're already looking over in this direction, and they know that he hasn't got much cover.
And you'll see now inside the blue, Capitan, he's coming under pressure from Alcudia now as Relo and D will work their way in. Remember, they potentially could get... they're too far away to get Roth. And no, the bodies are around here, aren't they? D's going for the body. So I don't think he knows that Capitan is still around. But Fakeson from Mira elsewhere will do some damage on the Hitchwin. Fakeson will find that one. 3 players up for Mira. They didn't get all 4 back up. Or at least if they did, they lost one on the push. But Falcons making their move. Here comes Shrimsy. But Fakeson, he'll smoke off the side so he can focus forward as Tiggleton will take down Kawazine and brings it to a 2 versus 3. Kick's going to go for the wide wrap a little further to the south as Tiggleton will continue to take ground, continue to step on up and continue to do damage onto Team Mira. It's just Fakeson left standing. This could be curtains for Kawazine as he falls for the second time. And let's see now if Fakeson can do so. Yep. Shrimsy, that's perfect.
He landed
parking.
it. He flipped it, and it landed the right way round. So all skill, no luck whatsoever. As Tiggleton, he goes for a send, and there it is, Alcudia. They are going to be making the call in for their teammates as Tiggleton blows the door out, preps himself for flashbang. The frag grenade comes in from Shrimsy. It looked close, but not close enough as Tiggleton just holding that corner. Shrimsy now has the read on where that opposing player is, but they forgot about LFP. It doesn't matter because Shrimsy turns around, finishes off the job. That's Team Mirror out in 10th place, but I don't think they have to worry. With the amount of kills, the amount of points they've got, they're surely locked in for the Masters, sorry.
Bestia did get a player knocked by the red zone there while all that was going on. They went for the res, and now Rock have decided to third party it and jump on in the battle that they were having against the zone. And now Enzito and Draft King, they'll need to move. Now pulling up on this ridgeline, thinking the opportunity to get some kills is there as Draft King will fire off a couple of rounds of 5.56, but not going to land the all-important shots that they need as the 2 members of Alcudia are brought back in. And I think very intelligently, Roth and Cowboy going for Pachinki, as is Luke 12, as 3 teams come back on this path of the plane. 3 players come back, and they will all look to garner some loot as quick as possible. Souls will look to pick up some kills, and finally, Rock will deal with Bestia. See what I did there?
I like it. Finally, Roth returns to the game, parachuting in. Going to be able to loot himself up Pachinki without any real threat. Again, it's one of those spots where you can grab a lot of loot in a very short time. As Kickstart, he's going to be smoking down, getting ready to call in their lost teammates. The Falcons going to group up. They've got 2 minutes till Phase 4 starts to cause a problem for them. So they do need to be pretty quick with it. And you've got to hope that, I think it was H-Win is the final player left to be called in, is going to be able to get himself some loot, because that zone is now starting to move. Latoro, he's got the nade locked in, knows roughly where Adria is going to be, but it just lands a little bit short. And now Toyo, they're going to be focusing down this hillside a little bit more. Spray, able to connect with a lot of bullets, but it just can't find the knock. And don't forget, D, Bizzler, both out to the northeast here, could cause problems now that he's made some noise.
Yeah, and now Alcudia, they're going to move towards, look, all 4 players back on their feet, but you can see D is taking a ton of damage inside the blue. Does he have a vehicle? Is he going to make it inside the zone? Because Phase 4 hurts quite a bit, so keep an eye on what happens with D, aka Monster, aka Fadeaway, or should I say FKA at this point, as Liquid look to set up the trap. And look, Liquid know that Alcudia were on this plane as well. I love the way they've set up to lock out Al-Qudsiya here. And remember, Al-Qudsiya are not safe, Chunks. They're not a team that are guaranteed to be playing inside of the Masters, so they can't really afford to go down.
No, they've got 23 points on the board right now, but, you know, with LG still in it, that could be enough to close the gap as Alo takes down 2, Luke supports with 1, and Al-Qudsiya is all on to D, out in the very northeast, still inside the blue. Kurt, he's preoccupied, finishes off Adria, and the nade nearly rolls back down the hill to get him, but he is able to finish off the job. Liquid, 5th kill on the board now, looking to confirm the others.
Benya coming down from the sky as well, as he's still up in that position, but the blue zone will wipe out the rest of Al-Qudsiya as D will sprint into the circle. Now, the 5 kills for them puts them up on the 28, which might just get them into the... Somebody needs to teach Falcons how to arrive into a building, as Rock will get a few knocks on the board early. Hitchwin is down to 1 HP and a dream, and Souls will step up inside. The bathroom door he's got nothing. Hitchwin had nothing, and he has been shot, so Falcons will lose a few. Shrimsy still alive inside the blue, but that's not gone the way Falcons would have wanted it to.
So LG, they need to close up the gap to keep themselves safe. They managed to get a kill on the board, but Latoro is closing in. Bisla looks like he was maybe out of meds. Denies to the zone, out in 8th position. Remember, not going to be getting any placement points out of that one. Now, we have seen big things out of Falcon players with this link. Shrimsy now got it in hand. He's going to be looking to find someone, but more importantly, D, the final player left up from Al-Qudsiya, trying to keep his team in that top 8 going into the final rankings, is not going to have much luck surviving. Maybe going to get the bleed on that knock, but no, it's 12 that steals it away for Animaniacs, a team that are very close behind them right now. Only 1 point between Al-Qudsiya and Animaniacs, and that will move Al-Qudsiya down to 8th, and it's all going to depend on how LG performed.
Well, let's not forget, Al-Qudsiya did find 5 kills, so they'll be up on the 28 points, and Animaniacs have a couple on the board as well at this point, so it's teams like LG that are really in trouble now as things stand. Citrus Flow, here come Team Liquid, it's a Panzer, they're all in the one spot, but before he can even pull the trigger, Alo is going to get the kill. Citrus Flow eliminated, and now it is Animaniacs, Rock, Team Liquid, and Toyo as the last 4 players standing. Benya, he's the only one alive for Toyo, and you can see that Liquid are pulling right up on top. At some point, they'll spot the McLaren, and that McLaren is... It's... so he has no
He's
gun,
not got a gun,
no
he's not got a vest, he's not got any util, he's just got a dream, and he is playing for placement right now. Who knows, Liquid could miraculously get taken out by Santa right now, and he can try and pick up their loot, but it's not to be, as Benya goes down in 4th. At least he gets himself that 1 placement point on the board for the team by making it into the top 4. But now, we've got 3... well, almost 3 full squads. Liquid obviously losing Purdy Curdy earlier on, but that's not slowed them down with 11 kills on the board.
Yeah, now Alo from Liquid, they've had a lot of success on the night, and they're looking for more with 11 kills. BL off in the distance will start tossing some smoke, but the Dragunov shots from Alo not hitting where they need to get the knock. Now, T-Plants, he will look to find one. Animaniacs with 3 kills on the board, which should put them above LG now in their hunt to qualify for the $20,000 Masters tournament. But Chunks, I think Santa is about to cause some absolute chaos on the Team Liquid. RBN fires over this way as well. The nade does a ton of damage, but somehow Luke 12 gets out of there, and Sparking has the angle to put enough pressure on to force them back as Santa wastes a lynx shot.
He did a lot of damage to the vehicle, though. That's something that can be said for it. As Rock, they don't really have to make a move. They probably want to, as Animaniacs right now do have the high ground advantage over them. But for the time being, They've got a decent ridge to work with. I wouldn't expect anyone to make any real proactive moves in this circle. We've only got 3 teams left, and they all have plenty of space to play with. Most eyes are going to be looking down towards Team Liquid. As you can see, Animaniacs, they've sent 2 players up to the north to make sure that people aren't able to wrap around onto them. But right now, it's just a bit of a slow burn. DMR shots coming through. Sure, you can try and get a knock, but in these kind of positions, players aren't going to be exposing themselves all too much. It's more about weakening those helmets, those vests, making them easier to take down when we get to that final circle.
And at this point, we're getting closer and closer, Chunks. Phase 6, Phase 8 coming soon. But where do you play? Like, it's just hills that you can hide in at this point. There's no buildings inside the circle whatsoever. Liquid have a little bit of the bunkers to the north that they can utilize for some cover. But at this point, Animaniacs, if they just stay quiet, stay out of trouble, can really move up and maybe get a couple more points off of the back of this. But it's a 4v4v3, 24 minutes on the clock. All of these teams have already qualified for the Masters. So at this point, Chunks, it's just a battle for pride.
Well, never say never, because look at Animaniacs, where they're currently placed on the leaderboard. They're down in 9th position, which as it stands would not qualify them. Alcudia, LG, they both got kills on the board. So Animaniacs still have a gap that they need to try and close. They've only got themselves 1 placement point out of this game and the 3 kill points to go with it. So they really need to try and get this win, get that 5-point boost, and obviously the kills that are likely to come with it. That could be enough to qualify them and bump teams like LG, like Alcudia out of the top 8. So there is a lot to play for Animaniacs. Rock and Liquid, not so much.
I feel like Rock, they've had a brilliant tournament. They're probably, with the kill tally they have and with the points that are left on the board, they're most likely winning this event. So at this point, they're going to get a ton of points on the board. They're going to get themselves the $500 as well for first place in the cup. And you know what? This is a qualifier. At the end of the day, $500 for first place and a qualifier for a $20,000 tournament ain't bad at all, especially when you consider it's just 8 maps over 2 days. It's not that much at all, but Chunks, the circle will favor Rock. I was going to call them by their old name, Working in Silence, but it favors them in this position. Liquid now have a lot of work to do to get into the zone.
They certainly do. It's not going to be an easy fight, but Animaniacs could make the most out of it. Obviously, Liquid, they're going to have to run out in the open. Alo's position might just about be in, and he does have a little bit of cover, but ultimately, kind of regardless of where that shift goes in the next phase, Liquid aren't going to be in it. I actually don't think Alo is inside the zone, but Santala, nice shot with the links to take down Luke 12. That's Liquid now down to a duo. Remember, every point that Rock are able to salvage here is another point denied from Animaniacs.
And that Lynx ammo is being wasted shot by shot from Santa. He needs to make these stick if he wants to get those points on the board. And at this point for Liquid, there's not really much they can do without forcing a knock, without creating a little bit of space for themselves. And for Rock, they know this is Liquid. They know that this is one of the teams that potentially, if they get all the rest of the kills inside the lobby and get the 5 points for chicken dinner, could potentially usurp them inside of top spots. So you're very curious as to how Rock are going to play this one. But here comes the Animaniacs push. And if Animaniacs push Rock on the other side, that could open the door just enough for Liquid.
Liquid trying to open something up onto Animaniacs. T-Plant's taking a high-risk play with the vehicle. Opts not to send it over to the tree. Instead, just using the car for cover. The rest of Animaniacs, they need to start putting down some cover and fire because he is out in no man's land as it currently stands. Ideally, I think they'd like to get that vehicle a little bit closer to the tree. That's going to be a risky play to make as Rock, they open up with yet another link shot over towards Sparking, taking down another player from Team Liquid. So they are back to a duo. Santala switching his attention up. Nades are landing close to Animaniacs as FCZ preps himself a nade. I think he's going to throw it out blind, just hoping to find something. But his teammates clearly called out Santala, and that one seems to be close. A decent chunk of damage, but it can't finish off the job. But RBN certainly can. Down goes Luke 12, down goes Spark, and it's only Alo left up. But we have seen him make some insane individual plays right now. BL just making the most out of that third person, trying his best to look over the smoke. But Alo, he's going to be sticking this res. This could bring Liquid back up to 2 players in a very precarious position.
Rock with 4 on the board, and they've got Animaniacs down to 2. This looks like it's their game to lose as the stun grenades get thrown and down fall Liquid. 10 kills, make it 11 as T-Plants will start to fight back. Animaniacs have 3 players back on the board. They've got Souls in their sights, but Souls will find one as we're back to a 2v2. RBN and BL, T-Plants confirming out the points, confirming those kills. But as you can see, those players are low on HP. Smoke grenades being thrown as RBN sprays through the smoke, but as a lot of those smoke canisters are about to dissipate, it's going to open up a chance for RBN. He finds one, he finds 2. It is all down to FCZ now. Chunks Rock, they're going to go for the res because they're not taking any risks whatsoever. FCZ, he'll try to get the flank off, but Chunks, can I say it? Can I please say it? Is it time? Can you smell what Rock are cooking as they are going to win this cup, this qualifier? Or maybe I spoke too soon. FCZ will find one. He finds 2. Chunks, have I sung too soon? RBN out in the open. Level 3 helmet for the Animaniacs. Take it away.
Animaniacs FCZ, he realizes just how difficult of a position they are in terms of the leaderboard, so he confirms those flushes without a question. That takes their kill tally up, and he is playing for everything right now. Smokes are going to be coming down from RBN. He lands the spray. He nearly finishes off the job, but it's not going to be enough. FCZ catches RBN out in the open as he prepares the flashbang. Both players going to be healing, using whatever bit of cover they have, but FCZ, surely he is pinned down at this tree. He has to make a move, but so does RBN. The zone is closing in. The frag grenade, it looks close. It's perfectly cooked. Surely that's going to be the end of things, and it is. Rock take the win, but Animaniacs, they put a lot of points in the end game. They are the team to watch when we take a look over at that leaderboard, because they are the ones that were so close to qualification. But it's Rock that cook up a storm. 14 kills and a win, 19 points in our final game, solidifying their spot in first place, surely.
Oh, the fact that he was able to loot the crate and pick up those 2 nades at the end was huge. I nearly threw out the biggest caster curse that I had ever done. But in the end, they just said, just bring it. And they did. They got the win. And Rock will qualify through to the Masters. $20,000 up for grabs, Chunks. But, yeah, there we go. The extra point was good as he got punted off into the distance in that clip. But Chunks, what an eventful game at the very end.
Absolutely. Certainly a fun one to watch. I mean, I was going to say this weekend again, but this Players Cup has been so fun to watch, seeing players adapt. It felt like yesterday there were so many early game fights, people fully focusing on kills, but I think squads quickly realize that as more teams are focusing on those kill points, you're going to be in much scrappier situations, and the chances of you making it out alive are a lot slimmer. I think what we saw today was a little bit more structured. Maybe Erangel was an exception to the rule, especially when you saw, that 4-5 teams all playing on one compound, 4 teams down at Ferry Pier in the early game. It was an exciting watch for sure. I can't wait to see how these players adjust to not only the new point system, the new changes that have come in the latest patch, because, look, 8 teams are going to make it through tonight. Another 16 teams are going to come into the next Players Cup, and only 8 of those are going to make it through to the Masters, which, remember, has a $20,000 prize pool. So everything is on the line for these squads. Animaniacs, 9 points out of that match, but Alcudia, they managed to get 5.
And looking at the point totals before we jump to the overall leaderboard, I think that the teams that were in the top 8 going into the final game will still be in the top 8 after. There might be some shuffling, in as far as the positions are spoken for, but I believe with LG getting 2 and Bestia only getting 1, that enough damage was done that they will qualify through to the Masters, which is on in a few weeks' time. Now, if you are wondering about the schedule, I believe we'll talk about the schedule in a few seconds, Chunks. There is your overall leaderboard, and Al-Qudsiya get through, and LG didn't make the cut, so Animaniacs did usurp them in the end, as did Toyo, and one of the better teams, 2 of the better teams in the Americas, will have to run it back in the next Players Cup.
Hey, that's no bad thing. It means that we'll probably see them again next week. But don't forget, all of those teams that are in the top 8, they could come back next week if they want to play for the cash. We've seen Mirror do that in previous weeks where they've qualified for Super Cups. I think they did it with the Masters as well, where they qualified in the first week and they came back because there's more cash on the line. And if you want to get your hands on that cash, make sure you do ! Register in chat. Take part in the player scrims throughout the week. It's only a best of 3, so it's not a huge time commitment. And then come back for that Players Cup if you qualify, make it to the Masters and play for that $20,000. But at least in terms of this prize pool, it's Rock that take the lion's share with $400. Liquid taking home 3, Mirror taking home 2, and Falcons taking home 1.
Yeah, and as I said, this is just a qualifier. $20,000 up for grabs at the next Masters. And here are your 8 teams that qualified from the first week. Week 2 will be 2 weeks from today. It'll be the 28th and 29th of June, if I'm not wrong. I know I won't be here. I'm getting married those days at that point, so I will be away for those Players Cup, but there will be a very capable replacement coming in for me. Can't remember, Chunks, are you away that week as well?
No, I'm going to be here. I'm seeing it through to the end. Sorry, Gibson. I'm going to have someone else casting with me. I feel like I'm cheating on you almost. But look, these are the totals for the stats in the end. It's Team Liquid that get the majority of kills and, of course, the damage to go with it, but not by a significant margin. Rock only getting 3 less kills than Liquid in the end. So really strong performance from Liquid, and Rock up at the top end of things, really dominating in terms of kills. But in terms of the player stats, let's take a look, because Kawazin's always at the top, regardless of how Mirror plays.
Oh, surprise. Look, he is. Most damage, most kills. And honestly, it's a very Brazilian dominant kill feed. Like Kawazin, Santa, Sparking, and Souls, they have all got 20 plus kills. And then shout out to Luke 12, 21 for him too, as he's been excellent over the course of the last few weeks. Liquid all nearly showing up inside the total damage, and Alo with the highest KD over the course of the 8 maps. But, you got to give a shout out. Kawazin continues to impress, and time will only tell once he transitions into the FPP circuit. I believe next month he becomes eligible to play. I'm very, very excited for the future this kid has. Like, I have not had this excitement over a young player coming out of Brazil since Sparking. Like, this kid really has every opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely going to be one to watch. I do want to give a special shout out, though, to Alo, because he is a player that, sure, he didn't get massive kills, but one thing that I've noticed both tonight and yesterday is he was making those clutch plays. He was really making it count when it mattered the most, and that is no small part to why Liquid was so successful over the course of the last 2 nights. So I think he is kind of the unsung hero when you look at things like that KDA. He is one to give a huge amount of credit for Liquid. Not to say that the rest of the squad didn't impress, but he really stole the show for me in a way that is maybe not typical for a PUBG player.
That is the key. Look, Alo's been great for a long time, as is Kurt. Look, they're phenomenal players. Shout out to Liquid as well. But it has come time to end the night. As we said, there will be a little break from the PUBG Players Cup. If you want to compete in the next one, ! Register. Those scrims will be on very soon for you to qualify. You can sign up on the WASDefy website and take part. But we will say, if you do still have that, you want to see some PUBG, the EWC qualifiers will be on over the course of this weekend. They might be broadcast, they might not. Just keep an eye on socials. You might find out information about that. And then the finals, I believe, will be on next week to qualify for that event. So plenty of PUBG to come over the course of the next 2 months. But Chunks, it has been a pleasure as always. I won't see you on this channel for what, a month and a bit now. Next time you see me, I'll be a married man, so technically I'll be cheating on my partner by casting with you. But it's been great. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks to production. And until next time, in honor of Toffees, play more PUBG.
Every time I close